Chapter 1927. I suddenly thought of a serious problem, Huamin said in all seriousness. Go ahead, honey. I think, in our next life I'll be a man and you'll be a woman. I'll definitely marry you then, okay? Huamin said with a smile. Why? Because you'll definitely be gentle and virtuous. You'll cook well and you'll do housework. You'll even blow dry your hair so carefully. You'll be awesome. Huamin praised Mr. Qin. But, if I were a woman I wouldn't marry you, Qin Chu said slowly. Huamin immediately pouted. Why? Because you're not good-looking. Qin Chu teased her on purpose. She thought that Huamin would be angry, but he didn't this time. Instead he crossed his arms and replied calmly, Is looks that important? No matter how good-looking you are, it's the same with the lights off. Qin Chu's heart was in a mess. Since when did his Mian become so dirty? Seemed like, when he returned to China he had to have a good talk with Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling. One is marked by the company one keeps. He hadn't watched over her for 4 years, and his daughter had become a female hooligan. Why aren't you saying anything? Huamin couldn't help but laugh. Honey, you're right. Qin Chu continued to help dry her hair. Perhaps it was because they were too tired from playing, or perhaps it was because they hadn't been so relaxed in a long time. Huamin slept soundly in Qin Chu's arms. Qin Chu's arms were numb, but he didn't want to move for fear that Mian would wake up. He tilted his head and looked at her closely. He could even see her eyelashes clearly. Even if he hugged her like this every night and spent every day with her, he still felt that it wasn't enough. It was as if he didn't even want to sleep, because a person's life was imperceptibly slipping away. He felt that if he slept a little longer he would lose tens of seconds of time with Huamin. It would be a pity. Qin Chu knew that his way of thinking was wrong, but it was hard to control himself. Huamin didn't know that Qin Chu cared so much about her now and to such an extent. The next morning after breakfast, the family played in the park for the whole morning and took many beautiful photos. In the afternoon, Qin Ning and the bodyguards took the twins to Qin Ning's father's villa. Qin Chu drove a dark blue Ferrari sports car and took Huamin on a road trip. They were going to travel all over California along the most beautiful roads. Along the way, Huamin was as excited as a child, looking at the beautiful scenery on the road. Actually, the scenery in the United States was not as varied as that in China. But every time you go to a place you feel different. Especially in the quiet countryside, looking at the villas in the suburbs, gardens and endless lawns, one's mood was really different. The sun was setting in the west. Qin Chu turned on the music and played the familiar song, Hotel California. The familiar lyrics echoed in the car. Accompanied by extreme speed and passion at this moment, his heart and mind were completely empty. Huamin, who was always reserved, couldn't help but stand up in the car. He reached out his hand above the convertible sports car, facing the evening wind and the sunset, listening to the most moving and emotional song, Hotel California. Huamin was so moved that he almost cried. He felt a lump in his throat. Honey, you look so touched, so, do you think of something? Qin Chu asked, even though he already knew the answer. Chapter 1928. Come on. Do you think I'm that forgetful? Huamin pursed her lips and smiled. Then the two of them looked at each other and smiled. Needless to say, they both knew what the other was thinking. 4 years ago, Qin Chu came back to China and married Huamin. Although the method wasn't very glorious, Huamin wasn't willing. But fortunately they didn't miss it. Once, when Qin Chu drove Huamin to listen to this song, they talked about California. Qin Chu said that California was very beautiful, and that he had to bring Huamin there if he had the chance. He was never a person who liked to brag, so even if it seemed like an unintentional promise, he had to do his best to fulfill it. His schedule for this trip to the States was very tight, but even so he still squeezed out some time. He took Huamin with him and the two of them spent some time alone, watching the sunset in California. At this moment Huamin felt very satisfied. The scene that he had once described as a beautiful dream could actually come true. Honey, thank you for helping me fulfill a small wish. Huamin smiled sweetly. This most beautiful side was deeply imprinted in Qin Chu's memory. Sometimes a person's eyes were the best camera. They could record the charm that a camera couldn't capture. In Qin Chu's eyes, the mountains and rivers couldn't compare to Huamin's smile. Perhaps, this was what it felt like to love someone. The two of them drove all the way and by 7 p.m. the sky was already dark. Plus, they didn't pass by a particularly big city. For safety reasons, Huamin didn't let Chin-Chu drive. Honey, let's find a place to rest. We'll continue tomorrow morning. I'm not tired, or you can drive for a while. I promise I won't crawl under your skirt. Huamin, that's not the point. Faith, I really don't know how to drive a car here. I'm not used to the steering wheel. What if I get into an accident? I don't have an American driver's license. Alright, I know what you mean. The GPS shows that there is a motel 4 kilometers ahead. We can rest there for the night. Yes. Huamin nodded in satisfaction. Finally, the two of them stopped at a pretty motel in the suburbs. Chin-Chu paid the money and communicated with the boss. After parking the car, they washed it. Then Chin-Chu and Huamin entered the hotel. She took a shower and changed her clothes. It was Huamin's first time staying at a motel. Because it was rare in China, she was still full of curiosity. Is it fun? Chin-Chu asked her. Yeah, this is the first time I've seen a hotel with a parking lot connected to the rooms, and the decorations are so unique. It's a refreshing feeling. Americans pay attention to the mood. They won't deliberately set up a sex hotel to let you find that kind of mood. That's true. Huamin smiled. Are you hungry? Chin-Chu lovingly touched her face. Okay. Let's go get something to eat. After speaking, Chin-Chu pulled Huamin out of the hotel. The two of them wore simple white couple t-shirts and looked a few years younger. Boss, do you have anything to eat? Chin-Chu asked in fluent English. Hamburgers, sandwiches and fried drumsticks, the tall and strong Caucasian boss replied. Chin-Chu looked at Huamin. Hamburgers, Huamin whispered. 2 hamburgers and 2 Cokes, thank you. After speaking, Chin-Chu took out US dollars and placed them on the table. Then the two of them sat at the table next to the bed to rest. Just then, 5 young people suddenly came in. 3 of them were Caucasian and 2 were black. They didn't look old, but they were dressed in a hip-hop style. There were many tattoos on their arms. He looked just like a hooligan. The young man in the lead glanced at Chin-Chu and Huamin as soon as he walked in. Then he whispered something in English and those people laughed maniacally. There was obvious mockery in their laughter. Huamin began to feel uneasy. Chapter 1929. Chin-Chu could tell that Huamin was a little uneasy, so he immediately raised his hand and placed it on the back of her hand. He tried to reassure her. Huamin looked up at Chin-Chu and smiled. The couple had a tacit understanding. Just then they heard a burst of laughter behind them. What followed was unbearable swear words in English. Huamin and Chin-Chu could understand them and they heard them very clearly. Chin-Chu's face immediately darkened. Huamin was afraid that he would be impulsive, so she immediately reminded him in a low voice, "Honey, I'm full. Let's go back to the room." Huamin was abroad, so it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Plus, they didn't have bodyguards with them and the other party had 5 tall and strong people. A wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. Although they had only eaten half a hamburger, Huamin said that she was full. She grabbed Chin-Chu's hand and got up to leave. She wanted to go back to the room to avoid this boring mess. Chin-Chu seemed to understand Huamin's intention. In order to reassure his wife, he wasn't very happy. However, he still listened to Huamin and got up to follow her back. When they passed by those people, suddenly one of the hooligans stretched out his leg to trip Huamin and he cursed, "Bitch." This word completely angered Chin-Chu. He turned around and let go of Huamin's hand. He punched the blonde white guy who stretched out his leg to trip Huamin. With a loud bang, the punch landed heavily and there was a cry of pain. Because of the impact of the fist, the young man fell from the stool to the ground. He fell hard. Then his colleagues all stood up and glared at Huamin and Chin-Chu. "Honey, stand behind me. No, I want to be by your side. I don't want to be protected by you." Huamin was worried that Chin-Chu's old leg injury would flare up again, so he was determined to stand in front of Chin-Chu even if he was injured. Chin-Chu lowered his head and coaxed Huamin affectionately. "Good boy, come behind me. Just give me a minute." "Honey." Huamin's face was filled with worry. "Trust your husband." Chin-Chu looked at her tenderly. Finally, Huamin stopped being stubborn. He was also afraid that he would be a burden to Mr. Chin, so he obediently hid behind him. Although she was extremely unwilling and worried, she knew that Mr. Chin had his own pride. Sure enough, a few young men rushed up. The 2 black men were burly. However, they only had brute force and their movements were relatively clumsy. Chin Chu's movements were very clean. She had seen it before when Humin was kidnapped. Therefore she had confidence in Mr. Chin. 5 pieces of trash shouldn't be a problem. However, at that moment one of the black men picked up a white baseball bat from the side. This thing was very heavy. If he was hit, he would be seriously injured, especially if he was hit in the head. "Hubby, be careful," Humin yelled. Just then, the little yellow feather that was lying on the ground got up and pounced at Humian, baring its fangs and claws. Seeing this, Chin Chu immediately dashed over and grabbed the punk's collar. Then he punched him again. This punch was even stronger than the previous one. The punk immediately felt dizzy, as if the sky was filled with stars. He fainted on the ground again and couldn't get up. The hotel owner seemed to be used to this. He calmly washed the cups while watching the fight. He was as calm as if he was watching a TV show. Humin, on the other hand, was worried for Chin Chu. Just as Chin Chu knocked out 4 people and there was only one left, the tall white man suddenly took out a gun and pointed it at Chin Chu. Humin's face immediately turned pale. "You little bastard. Come on, I'll shoot you," the man scolded ferociously. Chin Chu didn't say anything. He just looked at the man quietly. Chapter 1930. Just then a black man got up from the ground and staggered toward Chin Chu. He threw a punch at Chin Chu's face. He thought that Chin Chu wouldn't dodge because his accomplice had a gun. However, Chin Chu dodged nimbly. His punch missed and he fell to the ground again. "Fuck. If you dare to move, I'll kill you," the white man with the gun shot at Chin Chu. Humin was so scared that his heart almost jumped out of his chest. "Honey, be careful," she screamed. At this moment, a gun appeared in Chin Chu's hand. Humin recognized it. It was Chin Chu's gun. She had seen him use it before in China. The man missed Chin Chu. Before he could fire a second shot, Chin Chu shot him in the wrist. His gun fell to the ground. Another hooligan wanted to pick it up, but Chin Chu made another sound. Then a scream was heard. Whoever dared to pick it up would be shot in the wrist. After a while, no one dared to pick it up. "Crazy fuck, you're crazy, mentally ill." The man covered his wrist in embarrassment and cursed at Chin Chu. Then someone called the police. The police came quickly. What happened? The police officer was white and there were 4 men behind him. He drove a police car and looked very impressive. Before Chin Chu and Humin could explain, the hooligans complained. He blabbered on and on, implying that Chin Chu was the one who shot them. The police officer saw that the hooligans were locals and Chin Chu and Humin were foreigners, so he was very unfriendly to them. He walked over and asked, "Can you speak English?" "Of course." Chin Chu looked at the police officer coldly. "You're suspected of assault. We're taking you back to the police station." "Wait, aren't you going to ask about the cause and effect?" Chin Chu spoke to the police officer in fluent English. His expression was also very unhappy. "I've already asked clearly." The police officer was rude and unreasonable. "But we didn't say anything. You only heard their side of the story." Humin was also unconvinced. These hooligans took the initiative to cause trouble, and then the guilty party actually sued them first. The most disgusting thing was that the police officers actually believed them, or rather directly protected them. Humin did not expect that the United States, which had always talked about world peace and love for wireless, would do such a crazy thing. His mood for traveling was greatly reduced. "You are foreigners. Why should I believe you?" the police officer said confidently. Humin pointed at the camera angrily and said, "The whole process is recorded here. You can watch the recording for yourselves." Unexpectedly, the hotel owner interrupted. "The video surveillance is broken." "Sorry." At this moment, Humin realized that they might be in cahoots. They were obviously protecting him. At this moment, Humin looked at Chin Chu for help. After all, she did not know much about American law. Was she really going to be taken away? Moreover, she was the victim? Wouldn't that be too cowardly? Is this how you enforce the law? Chin Chu looked at the police officer and sneered. "What? You're not convinced? Are you Japanese?" "No." Humin immediately denied. "Korean?" the police officer asked again. "We are Chinese," Chin Chu and Humin said in unison. The group of hooligans and several policemen burst into laughter after hearing this. "So you really are Chinese pigs?" The hooligans got up from the ground and asked. "Shut your stinky mouth." Chin Chu raised his gun and aimed again. The hooligans were so scared that they immediately hid behind the police. Officer, look, they are so rude. Men, take these two away. The police officer ordered, and his subordinates immediately rushed up. They impolitely pressed down on Chin Chu and Huamin's shoulders. Wait a minute. Chin Chu coldly said. Chapter 1931. At this moment, everyone looked at Chin Chu. I'm going to call my friend and ask him to come bail me out. Your friend? From China? The police officer's voice was full of mockery. You'll know when he's here. Chin Chu sneered. Officer, let him call. Maybe he can pay a high bail, one of his subordinates whispered. The police officer nodded. Chin Chu picked up his phone and dialed a number. Then he said impatiently, I'm in California, less than 30 kilometers from Oakland. I'm at a motel called Moto. The police want to detain me. Come bail me out. Detain you? Don't mess around. The man on the other end chuckled. I'm not messing around. I'll give you half an hour. I don't care if you take a helicopter or a private jet. So, then Mr. Chin hung up the phone arrogantly. Honey, are you calling Ning Ning? Huamin asked anxiously. After all, Chin Ning was with the twins. To be honest, Huamin didn't want Chin Ning to come. He didn't want his two precious daughters to get involved in this mess. It's not Ning Ning. Chin Chu grabbed Huamin's hand and held it tightly in his palm. Chin Chu gave them half an hour, but it only took them 19 minutes. And they really did come in a helicopter. The roar of the helicopter alerted everyone in the room. When the police officer went out, he was dumbfounded to see the man coming out of the helicopter. I'm not late, right? The man walked out of the helicopter with his subordinates surrounding him. He was wearing a black windbreaker and looked the same as a few years ago. The moment Huamin saw him, she was very touched. Rick. She said softly. Mr. Rick, why are you here? They were surprised to see Rick and were almost scared out of their wits. The Rick family was the biggest gang in the United States and was very powerful. The police didn't dare to touch them. I heard, you want to arrest my friends? Rick asked coldly. I'm really sorry. I really didn't know these two were your friends. Then you're really stupid. Don't you know that he's the big boss of GK headquarters? Rick pointed at Chin Chu. The police officer was dumbfounded. The gangsters were so scared that they turned around and wanted to leave, but they were held down by Rick's men. You want to run? Is it that easy? Mr. Rick, we're sorry. We didn't know. The hooligans were so scared that they almost peed their pants. Forgiving you is something God does, and my task is to send you to God. Then Rick took out his pistol. Bang, 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 bang. 5 shots were fired. 5 hooligans were instantly shot to death. Why kill him? Chin Chu said faintly, as if he didn't care about his own affairs. Don't you deserve to die? Rick asked. Huamin was extremely shocked. This was the first time she had seen Rick kill someone with his own hands. Moreover, he had killed someone so casually. So, officer, what did you see just now? Rick blew the smoke out of his gun. He glanced at the African-American police officer whose legs were shaking. No. I didn't see anything. Very good. You can leave now. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Rick. The police officers were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They scrambled in their police cars and fled. Then Rick slowly walked over and looked at Huamin with a faint smile. Long time no see, Huamin. Chapter 1932. Rick, it's been a long time. The last time I saw you was when Little Bean and Pudding were 1 month old. Now they're 3 years old. Yeah, time flies. Let's get on the helicopter first. I'll take you to New Orleans. That's my territory. Then Rick led Chin Chu and Huamin to the helicopter. Wait, there's something else I need to take care of. Then Rick turned his head. Looking at the motel behind him, he said coldly, burn it all down. His boss. Under Rick's orders, the motel was burned to ashes because the owner protected a few hooligans. Huamin began to feel uneasy. She felt that the current Rick was similar to the old Rick but also different. She couldn't tell exactly what she felt. The helicopter flew directly to New Orleans. When Huamin first heard of this city, she thought of the famous grilled drumsticks in a burger restaurant. It turned out that New Orleans was actually a city and it was super beautiful. It didn't lose to big cities like New York and Los Angeles at all. The night scenery was also so pleasing to the eye. The helicopter flew directly to Rick's residence. It was an old castle on the outskirts of the city. Looked a little old, but it had a lot of flavor. Unlike South Hill Manor was a modern-style castle built later. Rick's house was a real old castle. It was said that it was built more than 120 years ago. Rick led Chin-Chu and Huamin in and went straight to the dining room. The chefs were busy making a lot of delicious food. There was a lot of food on the table. Let's talk while we eat. Rick gestured for them to start. Chin-Chu pulled out a chair for Huamin and let her sit first. Then he took the initiative to tie a white scarf around Huamin's neck. He was very considerate. It's been a few years, but Mr. Chin, you still love your wife so much. Rick smiled. It's been a few years, Rick, and you've learned how to joke. Huamin laughed as well. He can only joke around with us. After all, he doesn't have many friends, Chin-Chu interrupted. You make it sound like you're my only friend. Rick expressed his dissatisfaction. Chin-Chu teased. Think about it carefully. Isn't that the case? Of course not. Huamin is also my friend, so I have at least two. She doesn't count. She's my wife. The two of us are one, Chin-Chu argued. Rick finally spread his hands helplessly and said, All right, black-bellied Mr. Chin, you win. Then the three of them chatted as they ate. Huamin no longer cared about the taste of the food. He only cared about the feeling of reuniting with a friend he hadn't seen for a few years. Why are you two staying at a motel? It's not like you. Rick asked. It's low class, isn't it? That's why my wife came up with the idea. Chin-Chu put a small piece of steak into his mouth. Hey, I'm not taking the blame. You agreed, didn't you? Huamin pouted. I meant to drive for a few more hours and spend the night in Oakland. There are a lot of five-star hotels there. I'm doing it for your own good. Aren't you afraid that the roads will be slippery in the dark? Huamin pouted. Yes, honey, you're right. Rick looked at Chin-Chu, who still loved his wife so much. He was happy for them from the bottom of his heart. Like Gao Ran, Rick knew how difficult Chin-Chu and Huamin's love life was. As a bystander, he felt like he was watching a drama of life and death. More than that, he felt touched. They're already 3 years old. They should be able to talk a lot, right? Rick's eyes were gentle. Chapter 1933. She's not just good at talking. Her words are enough to piss me off. Huamin was both angry and amused at the same time. Just then Huamin's phone rang. See, what I said came true. Then Huamin picked up his phone. He turned on the video. Hi, Mommy. The twins shouted at the same time. Hi, babies. Where's Daddy? Little Bean asked obsequiously. Here. Huamin took out his phone and pointed it at Chin-Chu. Daddy, did you miss me? Little Bean immediately asked coquettishly. Of course. Chin-Chu smiled. You're lying. You won't miss me when Mommy is with you. After all, Daddy, you're a man who values women more than daughters. Chin-Chu was speechless. Don't blame Daddy. Which man isn't lustful? It's normal. Don't worry, Little Bean. The Tsundra pudding began to persuade Little Bean. Rick, who was sitting across from Huamin and Chin-Chu, almost spat out the red wine in his mouth. Pfft, what's that sound? Where are you? At a hotel? Little Bean was curious. No, we're at a friend's house, Huamin answered. Which friend? We know all your friends. Pudding looked at Huamin calmly. Uncle Rick's house. Uncle Rick, where are you? Let us see. I heard he's a handsome mixed blood. Rick's eyes lit up when Little Bean heard his name. He looked like a pervert. Huamin had no choice but to turn the phone around and face Rick. Hi, babies. Rick didn't know they could speak English, so he greeted them in Chinese. Wow, Uncle Rick, you're so handsome. Little Bean exclaimed. Uncle Rick, you can speak English. We can understand. Pudding noticed this detail and kindly reminded him. Can I? Rick was also amused. Not only English, but you can also speak Japanese, Korean, French, German, and Portuguese. We know a lot of languages. Little Bean said proudly. She couldn't wait to show off everything she knew. She was blatantly showing off. Mr. Chin, your daughter is flirting. She's showing off and showing off. Aren't you going to do anything about it? Huamin whispered. Why should I care? It's my ability. It's my talent. I can't kill it, Mr. Chin said shamelessly. All right. Like father, like daughter. You two really do have the same genes. Huamin surrendered. Oh my God, you guys are amazing, Rick immediately praised. Uncle Rick, where do you live? Pudding liked to talk about family matters while Little Bean liked to ask about private matters. I live in New Orleans, Rick replied with a smile. Then the drumsticks in your hometown must be very good. Little Bean was almost drooling. Ah, okay. This is very good. Come over when you're free. I'll take you to eat. Rick, who always had a cold face, couldn't hold it in anymore as he listened to the twins' golden sentences. He kept laughing. Huamin whispered into Chin Chu's ear in surprise. Honey. I've known Rick for so long, but this is the first time I've seen him so many times. Yeah. So, President Hua, your daughters are amazing. Chin Chu laughed. Hey. Uncle Rick, you have to keep your promise. Little Bean was excited. Of course. Then can you come and pick us up now? Rick, don't be nervous. I'm just kidding. Little Bean laughed. Rick, Uncle Rick, do you have a girlfriend? This time it was Pudding who wanted to know more. Chapter 1934. Ahem. Rick asked awkwardly. Sis, did you forget that Uncle Rick used to be in a relationship with Auntie Cece? Little Bean said. Huamin was so embarrassed that his cancer was about to explode. He didn't even dare to mention Cece's name because he was afraid that Rick would be sad. He didn't expect that his daughters would successfully trigger the landmine. Upon hearing Cece's name, Rick's expression changed slightly. Chin Chu immediately said, You don't have to talk to them. Just brush them off. Uncle doesn't have a girlfriend. Uncle is still young. There's no rush. Wrong. It's because you're young that you have to rush. Otherwise, when you get old and find a girlfriend, you won't be able to do anything and you won't be able to have many babies. What a pity. Little Bean lectured seriously. As for Rick, he was completely confused after hearing these words. Little Bean, this is the first time you're video chatting with Uncle Rick. Don't talk about such a deep topic. He won't be able to take it. The older sister scolded the younger sister. Nieces, you should go to bed. It's late. Chin Ning's friendly voice came from behind. Hey Auntie. I'll say one last thing to Uncle Rick. Little Bean stuck out her tongue. Uncle Rick, what kind of girls do you like? Little Bean asked. Rick, is this a hard question to answer? No, I don't know what kind of girls I like. Rick was completely confused. Uncle Rick, when are you coming to China to visit us? I'll take you to Oxan's ramen. Little Bean smiled sweetly. Chin Chu and Huamin were both speechless. The two daughters were so shameless when they saw a handsome guy that they even brought up the ramen restaurant that their parents used when they were young. Oh. When I get back, I'll take you guys to eat noodles. Rick was overjoyed by the twins teasing. All right, let's not talk about it anymore. Bye-bye, Daddy and Mommy. We love you. Bye. After saying goodbye to Huamin and Chin Chu, the twins immediately hung up. So, the main topic of this video call is Uncle Rick. Seems like we have to take a step back. Chin Chu was jealous. The feeling of being ignored by her daughters was really unpleasant. It's normal. Whenever I video call Suyu at home, it's as if I don't exist. Huamin seemed to be used to it. Do they always talk like this? Rick asked. Huamin nodded and so did Chin Chu. That's too scary. You two didn't give birth to a baby, it's a demon, Rick said exaggeratedly. Huamin nodded in agreement. I think so too. They just have high IQ and EQ. There's no need to make such a big fuss. Chin Chu looked calm. After the video call, the twins handed over their phones obediently. Then Chin Ning helped them change into their nightgowns and prepared to take a shower and sleep. Auntie, Pudding called out. Did you see that Rick in the video call just now? Yeah. Is he your daddy's friend? I've seen him a few times before. Chin Ning seemed to be familiar with Rick. Do you think Uncle Rick is more handsome or Uncle Suyu is more handsome? Pudding asked in all seriousness. Why do you always ask such weird questions? Chin Ning was speechless. She didn't know if she was overthinking it, but she kept hearing the word, Suyu, around her recently. Andy, choose one. Which one do you think is more handsome? Little Bean asked. Chapter 1935. Little brat. You're always giving me a hard time. Hey, I'll just say one. Rick is more handsome. After all, he's a mixed-blood handsome guy. Am I right? Chin Ning said helplessly. In the end, she gave a random answer. Nonsense. Our handsome Sue is more handsome, okay? Little Bean couldn't take it anymore. You still remember your handsome Sue? I thought you guys forgot about Uncle Suyu after seeing Uncle Rick. Chin Ning stuck out her tongue and made faces at her nieces. How is that possible? We're nostalgic people. Although Uncle Rick is handsome, he's still not as handsome as our handsome Sue. Auntie, you're not telling the truth, Little Bean emphasized. Hey, you're right, Little Bean. Then tell me again, who's more handsome? Little Bean asked with her hands on her hips. Qin Ning nodded helplessly and said, yeah, Suyu is more handsome. Which part is more handsome? Little Bean asked. Handsome in every way. Can you tell me more? Don't be so perfunctory. Let me think. Suyu's eyes are more charming. Is that okay? Yeah, I'm satisfied. I'll let you go. Little Bean nodded in satisfaction. Qin Ning glanced at Little Bean, who was playing with her phone. Little Bean, can we go take a shower and sleep now? Okay, after I send this video, Little Bean said calmly. What video? Qin Ning was confused. I just recorded a short video of you and sent it to Handsome Sue. What? Qin Ning was dumbfounded. Did it have to be so awkward? What did she just say? Oh my god. Little Bean, are you trying to push your auntie to the brink? It's so embarrassing. Qin Ning covered her face and wanted to die. It was impossible to guard against this. What's so awkward about it? Handsome Sue will be happy to see it. Isn't it good to have a beauty compliment you? Plus, I don't think I'm pushing you to the brink. I think I'm creating an opportunity for you. What opportunity? Qin Ning was still confused. You'll know in the future. Then put down her phone and glanced at Little Bean. You did a good job just now. You've recorded everything. Let's see what Handsome Sue says later. So, how are you going to thank me for doing so well? Little Bean asked Pudding. I won't tell Mom that you secretly ate donuts in the morning. Little Bean, seeing the two little guys leave the room and walk towards the bathroom, Qin Ning's heart was about to break down. She finally realized that she couldn't treat them like babies at all. They didn't look like innocent and sweet babies at all. They were two black-bellied little bastards. Qin Zhaozhao, Qin Mumu, let's talk. In the bathroom, the two little guys sat naked in the large bathtub. They were taking a comfortable bath. Qin Ning sat beside them on a small stool with a serious expression. Sure, what do you want to talk about? Pudding looked at Qin Ning calmly. Hey, do you have some kind of secret plan? Qin Ning narrowed her eyes at her two nieces and asked mysteriously. No, Little Bean immediately denied. Impossible. Why do I feel like you two are plotting against me? Plotting against you? Pudding looked at Qin Ning innocently with her cute little eyes. Chapter 1936. Little Bean was wiping Pudding's back with a bath towel. The two sisters were full of love. Yeah. Why do I feel like you're trying to set me up with Suyu? Qin Ning asked awkwardly. In fact, she shouldn't talk about this topic with kids. After all, it was too adult. But if she didn't talk about it, Qin Ning was afraid that her niece would sell her out one day. And he just realized it. You're so slow. Little Bean looked disgusted. Qin Ning, my sister and I have been doing this for a long time. I thought you already knew. I didn't expect you to ask us. I'm really disappointed in your IQ. Are you really our biological daughter? Did second grandpa give you to me when he recharged his phone? Or did second grandma give you to me? Little Bean pouted. Qin Ning, Auntie, you're an adult. Do you still need to ask this kind of thing? Even a blind person can see it. I just want to set you up with Handsome Sue. Pudding admitted calmly. The two brats, one was mocking her and the other was scheming against her. Oh my god, Qin Ning's pure and innocent heart instantly shattered like dumplings. Qin Zhaozhao, Qin Mumu, am I not good to you? Qin Ning was irritated. Very good. The two sisters said in unison. Then why are you biting the hand that feeds you? Qin Ning looked wronged. Of course not. I think we're grateful. Suyu is a good man, Pudding explained. Yes, Auntie. Don't think too much. Maybe Handsome Sue doesn't like you. So calm down, Little Bean persuaded. Qin Ning, this is crazy. I'm very calm. No, you look crazy, Auntie. Pudding looked at her quietly. You two little traitors. I fed you well, took you out to play and gave you big red packets. But you sold me out. I'm going to tell my sister-in-law. I'm going to call her and tell her that you're disobedient. Qin Ning used her trump card. Rumor had it that the twins were very afraid of their mother. Not long ago, Pudding had made a mistake and was beaten up badly by Huamin. Whatever. If you want to do that, we'll have to tell Grandpa that you like to video call men in the middle of the night, Pudding explained calmly. Did you video call a man naked in the middle of the night? Little Bean added. Chinchu was speechless. Are you two really my nieces? Qin Ning wanted to cry but no tears came out. That depends on whether or not you're the Qin family's biological aunt, Pudding replied. Qin Ning almost spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with internal injuries. It was no wonder that before they left, her sister-in-law had reminded her to look after the twins and talk less with them. Looks like I fell into his trap as I chatted. She even dared to openly threaten her, an elder. Can the two of you still play happily with Auntie? This depends on what Auntie does. Anyways, if you tell on us to Mom, we'll have a hard time. If we have a hard time, you won't have a good time either. Little Bean emphasized slowly. Little Bean, how can you scare Auntie? She's an elder after all, Pudding lectured Little Bean seriously. Qin Ning nodded and gave Pudding a thumbs up in agreement. However, when she heard Pudding's next sentence, she almost frothed at the mouth. Chapter 1937. If we're going to do it, we have to be ruthless. It's not enough to scare her. We have to find a way to kill her. Qin Ning felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Crack. Hey, you win. I won't tell my sister-in-law, and you can't talk nonsense to my dad. Qin Ning's father, who was Qin Chu's second uncle, loved the twins very much. He spoiled them to the max, and the twins were very good at coaxing people. If the two of them were really talking nonsense, then she would really be dead. Deal. Pudding reached out and slapped Qin Ning's hand. Then she asked in all seriousness, so, what do you think about us setting you up with Su Yu? Here we go again. Qin Ning was speechless. Tell us, at least let us know what you think. Little Bean stuck out her tongue and smiled at Qin Ning. To be honest, I don't think so. Can you two stop messing around? How can Su Yu and I be together? Why not? Pudding asked. Do you think you're not pretty enough for handsome Su? Little Bean interrupted. I've always thought I'm pretty. I don't think I'm not good enough for anyone. I just don't know Su Yu that well. That's not a problem. I'll give you two a chance to get to know each other. You can go back to China and live with us at South Hill Manor. As long as you're with us, you'll see him a lot because handsome Su comes to visit us every week. He treats us to good food and takes us to golf. How can I do that? I have a job at the headquarters. Didn't your dad tell you that Auntie is the CEO of GK's headquarters in the United States? What does that have to do with anything? There's GK in China too, and it's also our family's business. My mom is the president, so you can continue to be the CEO. Little Bean made the appropriate arrangements and thought she was a genius. That's different. Plus, I grew up here and I like it here. All my good friends are here. Okay, you won't understand. Hurry up and take a shower. You'll go to bed soon. Qin Ning felt like the more she talked to her nieces, the more likely she would be tricked. Therefore, he decided to end the topic. Qin Ning turned around and went to get towels for the twins. Little Bean asked her sister nervously, do you think Auntie is interested in handsome Su? Will the plan fail? Take it slow. There's no rush. Auntie isn't that easy to deal with, Pudding replied. In China, the headquarters of Imperial Star Group, Su Yu had just walked out of the executive meeting when he received a video from Pudding. Initially, he thought that the two little fellows were playing tricks on him. To his surprise, it was Pudding who had recorded Qin Ning, and it was a video of Qin Ning saying that he was handsome. Su Yu was completely baffled by her reaction. Just as he was about to call Pudding back to ask what was going on, he suddenly remembered that it should be nighttime in the United States. So he simply gave up on this idea. New Orleans Huamin, Qin Chu and Rick finished their dinner. After sitting for a while, they prepared to go to the guest room to rest. While Qin Chu was taking a shower, Huamin suddenly thought of something and went downstairs. Rick was still working on his laptop. Rick? Yeah. Rick turned around and glanced at Huamin. In the past 3 years, you haven't contacted Cece, right? Huamin slowly asked. Yeah, I haven't. Rick's eyes changed slightly and he nodded. A few days before I came, I saw her at the company. Cece, she's already back in China, Huamin continued. Just then she noticed a subtle reaction on Rick's face. Chapter 1938. Really? She's back? Rick was obviously not confident when he talked about Cece. It was as if there were a lot of things in his eyes. Have you really forgotten her? Huamin asked. So what if I haven't forgotten her? Rick smiled bitterly. I think my sixth sense has always been quite accurate. I'm good at reading people. I always felt that you liked Cece a lot. You're right, I like Cece a lot. Rick's eyes only showed a rare gentleness when he said Cece's name. Huamin didn't say anything. But, you can't do whatever you want in a relationship just because you like her. There are a lot of things in between. For example? Huamin frowned slightly as he looked at Rick. Her identity, Rick said slowly. You don't like her background? Huamin found it unbelievable. No, I don't like myself. Cece is a good girl from a normal family. But I'm not. After he said this, he immediately looked at Huamin and continued, Chin Chu told you what I do for a living, right? The biggest gang in America, Huamin explained calmly. Yes. Rick nodded. But isn't your brother in charge of it? You've been doing well in China all these years, haven't you? Huamin didn't understand. That was before. But 3 years ago, my brother got into a car accident and became disabled. He can only sit in a wheelchair now. Huamin was shocked when he heard this. I see. No wonder you didn't go to Cece 3 years ago. Huamin finally had the answer to the question that had been bothering him for the past 3 years. She had said a lot to Rick at the twins' 1-month-old party. He seemed to understand. Huamin thought that Rick would go to Cece in the end, and then the two of them who loved each other deeply would get back together. Unfortunately, later she heard that Cece went abroad to study and Rick went back to the States, never to be heard from again. He was still wondering what was going on. How could Rick suddenly leave under such circumstances? It turned out that something so big had happened to the clan. Rick sighed slightly and continued, 3 years ago I left your house and wanted to go find Cece immediately. But at that time the family sent me the news that my brother was in a car accident. I didn't care about anything else and came back here to take care of him, but he still hasn't recovered. He's basically a cripple now. And in the family I'm the only one who can take care of him. I can't watch the family business that my parents built be eaten away by others. That would be a waste of my brother's efforts all these years. So, Rick paused for a moment. So now that you've inherited your brother's position, you're truly the godfather of the mafia. Thinking about this time, Rick seemed to have a strong murderous aura when he walked down from the helicopter. Then he shot the hooligan to death without even blinking. It seemed that he had killed a lot of people in the past few years. You're right. I don't think I can give Cece happiness right now, because I don't even know how long I'll live. Don't be so pessimistic. Huamin suddenly felt sorry for Rick. This man looked so cold, but he hid everything in his heart. Huamin, I've killed a lot of people. Whether they deserved to die or not, they died because of me. I can't turn back now. I can't choose my family background, but Cece still has. She's just an ordinary girl who graduated from university, went abroad to study, got a job when she came back, found a boyfriend who loves her, got married, had children, and lived a peaceful and happy life. But I can't give her any of these seemingly ordinary things. So, Rick, you actually love her very much. You're doing this for her own good? Huamin asked. Chapter 1939. Rick didn't say anything. But he didn't say anything. You're just like Mr. Chin. You'd rather bear everything in silence and give the person you love the best life possible. Rick, think about it. Did Cece live a happy life without you for the past 3 years? What you think is happiness, is it really true happiness in her eyes? Don't forget, you're not Cece, neither of us are Cece. You have no right to choose what kind of life she wants to live. Rick didn't say anything. He knew what Huamin said made sense. Actually, as a friend, there's one thing I should say to you. Go ahead. Rick raised his head and looked at Huamin with loneliness in his eyes. Love isn't the most important thing in life, but it's the most regrettable thing. Maybe when you're old you'll remember that your family and friends treated you so well, but you didn't treat yourself well when it came to love. That's a terrible feeling. Because you can't do it all over again. I know. But my current situation. Rick didn't seem to have the strength to do it. I understand your situation. I used to feel the same way. After I broke up with Chin Chu, I felt like there was no love left. Then I went to college and got together with Ning Ziyuan. At that time I thought it was the same no matter who I was with. The truth is there's a big difference. If you choose an angel, you'll live in heaven. If you choose a demon, you'll live in hell. If you choose a stranger, you'll have to be prepared to live with that stranger for many years. Rick still didn't say anything. I've said everything I need to say. Rick, I treat you and Cece as my friend. That's why I'm saying all this. I know. I won't let you choose. After all, you have your own difficulties. I just think that it's rare for the two of you to truly love each other. We're the same type of people living passionately in this heartless world. Other people follow the rules, but we follow the rules. Rick lowered his head again at Huamin's words. Okay, I've said enough. Think about the rest, I'm going to bed. Good night, my friend. Rick was very grateful to Huamin for telling him so much. Really, Rick didn't have a friend who dared to tell him the truth anymore. It was so rare. After Huamin left, Rick was in a bad mood. He picked up a bottle of whiskey from the wine cabinet and poured a full glass. Then he sat on the sofa and drank alone. Godfather, what should we do with Auckland's traitor? A subordinate walked over and whispered. Kill them all. After Rick finished speaking, he raised his head and drank the entire glass of whiskey. The strong alcohol made him very uncomfortable and his stomach felt like it was on fire. But he couldn't feel the pain because nothing hurt more than losing Cece. It had been 3 years. For 3 whole years he hadn't heard any news about her. He didn't even dare to send his subordinates to ask around. Firstly, he was afraid that if he heard news about her, he wouldn't be able to control himself and would look for her. Firstly, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to take the blow if he heard that she was already married and had a child. Just now, when he heard from Huamin that Cece had just returned to China and wasn't married yet, he was more or less glad. After all, Rick didn't know how he would face Cece if she got married. He took out his phone, unlocked it and opened WeChat. Then he gently clicked to add it. It was filled with Cece's photos. There were so many that it made his eyes dizzy. Chapter 1940. When they broke up, Cece deleted him from her WeChat and they didn't have each other's WeChat anymore. However, Rick had saved all the selfies Cece sent him and the ones she posted on her WeChat friend circle. The more he looked at them, the sadder he felt. Especially when you look at Cece's bright and radiant face and your innocent smile. He felt as if his heart was being crushed by something. In the bedroom upstairs, "Honey, you're back. Take a shower and go to bed." Chin Chu walked over while drying his hair. "No, I'm not in the mood." Huamin was a little disappointed. "What's wrong?" "I'm a little tired. I want to sleep." Huamin hugged Chin Chu's waist and began to act like a spoiled child. Chin Chu immediately put down the towel in his hand and picked Huamin up. Then he hugged her and the two of them lay on the bed. "Did you talk to Rick about Cece?" Chin Chu asked softly. "How did you know?" "You're amazing, Mr. Chin." Chin Chu could still see through Huamin's thoughts with one glance. "If I didn't know you well, how could I have won your heart back then?" Chin Chu smiled and patted Huamin's head. "Honey, why can't so many people in love be together in this world? Love requires fate to begin with. How many people have always been deeply in love with each other, but fate doesn't bring them together? How many people are too young, too stubborn, too willful and miss the person they love the most?" "You're right. Now that I think about it, we're really lucky to be together, get married and have a baby." "Yeah, we're indeed one of the few people who can persist in love," Chin Chu exclaimed. Speaking of which, I remember now. We're still divorced. We're living together illegally." Huamin thought about how Chin Chu was forced to divorce Huamin because of Hua Xiqian's scheme. Although it was one-sided, everyone in the city knew about it and even announced it in the newspaper. "Don't worry, I'm just putting on a show for Hua Xiqian. We're not divorced." Huamin was dumbfounded. "That's not right. We already signed the divorce papers." "Yeah. It's not legally binding and I didn't send it to the divorce registry." "Do you have the divorce certificate?" Chin Chu's asked with a smile. Huamin's head. "So, we're not divorced?" Huamian giggled. "Humph. Oh my god, I thought I was divorced." Huamian looked up at the sky and sighed. I'm up. Calm, is? What big event?" Huamian couldn't remember right away. "Our wedding. Our grand wedding," Chin Chu said with a smile. "Yeah. We almost had a wedding before, but that bastard Hua Xiqian ruined it. But that's good. When we have a wedding, we'll have 2 flower girls." Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the thought of his daughters. "You're making me miss them," Chin Chu said quietly. "Mr. Chin, can't you grow up? They don't even miss us, why should we miss them? They're having so much fun that they forgot about their parents." Huamin pouted. Chin Chu smiled as he took out his cell phone and video called Chin Ning. "Hello, big brother." "Hi, sis-in-law." Chin Ning waved at Chin Chu happily. "Ning Ning, where are Pudding and Little Bean?" Chapter 1941. Those two brats. They fell asleep a long time ago. So early? Chinchu was a little disappointed. It's not early anymore, big bro. Look at the time. You guys are adults even if you're not sleepy, the kids are. Okay, I'll call back tomorrow. Wait, big bro. When are you guys coming back? Okay. Rick wants us to stay here for one more day and take us to the manor in the south. Oh. Okay, since my dad likes the twins, we'll let them stay here for a bit longer. Ning Ning, they're not naughty, are they? Huamin asked. No, sis-in-law, my nieces are very obedient. Qin Ning felt guilty and didn't dare to tell Huamin the truth. She was afraid that the twins would hold a grudge against her and take revenge. She had seen what the twins were capable of. They could kill her at any moment. That's good. If they cause trouble or don't listen to you, just call me, Huamin said. Okay, sis-in-law. Ning Ning, when you take them out to play, remember to bring enough bodyguards. Be careful. Qin Chu was really worried about his daughter. Even the bodyguards around Qin Ning were personally picked by Qin Chu. There were 8 of them and it was very eye-catching. They were no less than the president's daughter. Okay, I got it, big bro. Don't worry. Even if you lose me, you can't lose the twins. Don't worry. Then Qin Ning hung up the phone. Qin Chu hugged Huamin and the two talked for a while. Then Huamin fell asleep. Seeing that she was asleep, Qin Chu laid her down on the bed. He carefully tucked her in and then went downstairs. Rick was still downstairs. Do you want a drink? Rick looked up at Qin Chu. Sure. Qin Chu walked over and sat down. Rick picked up an empty glass and poured Qin Chu a glass of whiskey. I really envy you. What do you envy me for? Qin Chu took a sip of wine. I envy that you have Huamin by your side. You have a Huamin who will never leave you. As far as I know, you were the one who broke up with Huamian first. I heard that Cici cried her eyes out and looked for Huamian a couple of times. She didn't seem happy about it, Qin Chu asked. A short pain is better than a long pain. I don't think it's a short period of time. It's been 3 years. Qin Chu chuckled. Cici was the first girl I fell in love with and also the last one. Are you sure? Judging from your tone, are you not going to get married in the future, or are you not going to love anyone else? Qin Chu looked at Rick. What do you think? Rick smiled bitterly and finished the whiskey in his hand. Godfather, you've drunk enough. You can't drink anymore. The butler came up to him and spoke in perfect British English. Get out of my way. Rick's eyes were cold. You've become more ruthless than before. Qin Chu sighed as he thought about how Rick killed so many people today without batting an eye. If I wasn't ruthless, I wouldn't be in this position today. Then the empire that my brother and father fought for would fall into someone else's hands. Yes, so I understand your choice. Qin Chu nodded. Qin Chu, if you were me, would you give up on Huamin? Would you choose to protect your family? Qin Chu didn't say anything. Before he could answer, Rick smiled and said, You wouldn't, because Huamin is your everything. She's even more important than your life. You don't care about your family, your business, your career. In your heart, Huamin is enough, right? You're right, Qin Chu answered word by word. Just then Rick suddenly thought of something and asked, Oh, right, about that thing. Does Huamin know about it? Chapter 1942. Qin Chu immediately knew what Rick was talking about. His eyes darkened slightly. I don't know yet. Then when are you going to tell her? Or, are you going to keep it a secret forever? The point is, can you keep it a secret forever? Huamin is so smart, she'll find out sooner or later. I know, but it's not the right time to tell her yet. We just got back to our sweet days and I don't want to spoil it. I don't want her to be sad because of me. Huamian is very happy, because you always think about her first. You think about her feelings and her situation first, and then yourself. Rick admired Qin Chu's persistence with Huamin the most. It was a kind of terrifying willpower that ordinary people didn't have. Qin Chu smiled. She's actually the happiest thing in my life. How could I lose her? Rick thought about Qin Chu and Huamin and then thought about himself and Cici, which made him even more depressed. After drinking with Rick, Qin Chu quietly went upstairs. Huamin was still sleeping soundly. He quietly got into bed and hugged her from behind, afraid that he would wake her up. Instead of saying that Huamin relied on Qin Chu, it was more like Qin Chu relied on Huamin. Because only when she was with Huamin she felt completely safe. The next morning, Huamin and Qin Chu woke up. Rick's housekeeper had already prepared a sumptuous breakfast. The three of them were eating when the sound of a car came from the door. "Sir, it's Miss Luna's car." The housekeeper took a look and reported to Rick. "Boy." Rick continued eating with an indifferent expression. Huamin and Qin Chu looked at each other and didn't ask Rick anything. After a while, a girl in a pink dress opened the door and walked in. She had blonde hair and blue eyes. She didn't look old and her face was full of collagen. Because the foreigner was fair-skinned and had three-dimensional facial features, this girl looked like a Barbie doll. "Well, Rick, there are so many people in your house. Are they guests?" "He's my friend." Rick picked up the towel on the table and wiped the corner of his mouth. "Friends? So awesome. Are they your friends from China?" The girl spoke in English the entire time. "Yes." "Can you introduce him to me? This is the first time I've seen your friends come to your house." The girl curiously sized up Huamin and Qin Chu and then gave a friendly smile. Huamin responded with a smile. Rick seemed to be indifferent to the girl. But because the girl was too enthusiastic, he could only get up helplessly. Then he introduced, "My friends from China, Qin Chu and Huamin." "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Luna, Rick's fiancée." The girl introduced herself before Rick introduced himself. "Fiancée? Okay, Rick, why didn't you tell us?" Huamin was surprised and then he looked at Rick and Qin Chu. Qin Chu obviously didn't know either and his face was full of confusion. "Una, what are you talking about?" Rick frowned slightly and it seemed like he was very dissatisfied with this girl. "What? Am I wrong?" The girl raised her chin and it seemed like she was provoking him. "You're not my fiancé yet. So, please watch your words, don't scare my friends. I'll be your fiancé in the future. I heard what Dad said to you the other day. He wants us to get married. It's good for both my family and yours. You said you'd think about it too, humph." Qin Chu finally understood and he looked at Luna. "You're from the Frank family?" Chapter 1943. "You know my daddy too?" Luna blinked her deep blue eyes and looked at Qin Chu seriously. "No, I've only heard of him. After all, he's so famous." "So that's how it is." Luna nodded thoughtfully. "Is this your girlfriend? He's so cute, like a China doll. She'd look even better in a cheongsam." Luna glanced at Huamin and said, "No, she's my wife." "You guys are married?" Luna was surprised. "Yeah, and the baby is 3 years old," Qin Chu replied proudly. "God, I'm so happy. Rick, let's hurry up. I want to give you a lot of babies in the future." Then the girl grabbed Rick's arm, trying to be more intimate. Rick dodged and the girl's hand missed, making her a bit embarrassed. "Luna, you should go back. Your father will be worried about you." "I'm not leaving. I'm safe here. Plus you have food and a place to stay. I haven't had enough fun yet. I don't have time to play with you. I have a lot of work to do. But I'm still staying. I want to bond with you. We're going to get married in the future." "I didn't say I'm going to marry you. Remember that," Rick corrected her. "But you told my daddy that you'd think about it." "I was just brushing your daddy off. I was being polite, you know." Rick was speechless. "I don't care. I took it seriously, Rick. I'm so hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet." Luna pursed her lips. "There's some here. We're eating too. Let's eat together." Huamin was a bit embarrassed. "You eat by yourself. We'll eat." Then Rick turned around and left. Qin Chu and Huamin followed him out. The girl named Luna actually sat down and started eating slowly. When they walked out of the door, Huamin pulled Qin Chu's sleeve in a low voice. "Honey, who's this? What does her father do? Why does he want to marry Rick?" "She's the eldest daughter of the Frank family. Her father, Modo, is the boss of the biggest black market in Mexico. He controls a lot of things like prostitution, gambling, drugs, and the slave trade. Anyway, you can think of him as a mafia boss. No wonder. He's in the black market just like the Rick family." "Yes, I heard from Rick that he has been working with the Frank family for the past 3 years, and the cooperation has been quite good. It seems that in order to further develop and build trust, Murdoch intends to marry his daughter to Rick." "What does that mean?" Huamian asked nervously. "I don't know yet. I haven't asked him." "What?" "I know." Huamin nodded. "Why don't you guys have a round?" Rick asked as he looked at them with 3 golf clubs in his hand. Inside a luxurious mansion in Los Angeles. Ever since Qin Ning's father met the twins, he stopped going to work. As the chairman of the board of directors, he played with them at home every day. One minute he would play Chinese xiangqi and the next he would play xiangqi. Chairman Qin, you have a call? Qin Ning's assistant walked over with his phone. Who is it? Qin Chu's second uncle turned his head, slightly displeased. Chapter 1944. They said there's a meeting in the afternoon and they need you to go back. I'm busy. Let them handle it. Qin Chu's uncle waved his hand. Grandpa, it's not right for you to go like this. Little Bean instructed. I have to go like this. Otherwise I'll be eaten. Qin Chu's uncle argued with Little Bean like a child. No. If you go like this you'll fall into my sister's trap. She's very cunning. She set a trap for you. Idiot. As soon as Little Bean finished speaking, Qin Chu's uncle's chess piece fell onto the ground. Pudding picked up a chess piece and slammed it down on the chessboard. Checkmate, Qin Chu's uncle, Little Bean said. See? What did I just say? I told you but you didn't listen. You're such an idiot. Grandpa, you're such an idiot. Is there any room for negotiation? Qin Chu's uncle asked. Grandpa, it's a checkmate. Pudding smiled. I lost again. Qin Chu's uncle took out $100 from his wallet and handed it to Pudding. Little Bean craned her neck and looked at Qin Zhaozhao. Wow, not bad. You played chess and mobile games with second grandpa early in the morning. You must have won a few thousand yuan. Qin Zhaozhao, you're very smart. Do you think I'm like you who only knows how to eat? Pudding didn't care. I just enjoy life. I'm not like you. You're a miser. Little Bean mocked her sister. Whatever you say. You don't know what I'm thinking. You don't need to know. Qin Ning came back from her morning jog. Seeing the old and young playing so happily, she immediately ran over to join in the fun. What's going on? How's the game? Qin Ning asked. Andy, you're back just in time. Hurry up and save your dad. Little Bean covered her mouth and laughed. So serious? You're using the word save? Of course. If you didn't come back, Grandpa would have lost so much that he couldn't even wear his underwear. Little Bean, don't talk nonsense. How can you say that about Grandpa? Qin Chu's uncle almost collapsed. All right, let me put it in another way. Second Grandpa has lost so much that he only has his underwear left. Qin Ning's father. Daddy, what's wrong with you? Was it okay to lose to a kid? Didn't you say you were an expert in Chinese chess? There's always someone better than me out there. Today I've been defeated. What's the saying again? The student surpasses the master. Qin Ning's father sighed. That's not right, Grandpa Qin. There's a saying that goes like this. The younger generation surpasses the older one and slaps the older one hard on the beach. Little Bean sighed as she ate the cream cake. You little brat. Qin Ning pointed her finger at Little Bean. Pudding. Did you learn how to play Go from your mom? Qin Ning's dad knew that Huamin was a talented girl with a high IQ. He was a fast learner. No, my mom doesn't have time. She's usually busy at the company. Then who did you learn from? Qin Chu's uncle was surprised. I read some basic lessons and played Chinese chess on my phone for a few days. Later, when I went to the Su family, I would play a few rounds with Grandpa Su and Grandpa Su. You know, when you play against an expert, you'll naturally become good at it. Pudding said with a serious expression. Wow, you're so good at playing games at such a young age. Qin Ning's dad really liked the twins, not only because they were smart but also because they were the Qin family's flesh and blood. They didn't come easily. Dad, hurry up and go to the video conference. I'll clean up and we'll go out for hot pot. Qin Ning pushed her father out. Then the two little guys hopped out of the room as well. Qin Ning cleaned up the tatami study. Half an hour later she came out and looked around but didn't see the twins. Where are my nieces? Qin Ning was puzzled. Chapter 1945. Pudding Little Bean. Qin Ning shouted. Then she went upstairs and downstairs to look for them. When she saw the housekeeper and the housekeeper, she asked, "Have you seen the children?" "No. I didn't see him, Mississippi." Qin Ning suddenly had a bad feeling. Then she ran out in her indoor slippers without putting on her shoes. "Have you seen the twins?" Along the way she asked the bodyguards and security guards. "No, Mississippi. What's wrong?" "The children are gone. They're not in the villa." Could it be that they're playing hide and seek with you? The bodyguard asked. No, they never play such childish games. If Qin Ning didn't know about them before, she might think that the children were playing hide and seek with her and would look for them. However, on their first night together, Qin Ning suggested hide and seek. Little Bean and Pudding laughed at her. At that time the conversation went like this. Qin Ning, babies, let's play hide and seek? Pudding, Auntie, how old are you? Little Bean, Auntie, I always thought that you were a smart child. I didn't expect you to play such a boring game. Is it fun to hide and be found? I don't even know what's so fun about this game. Qin Ning, isn't it fun when you find them? Little Bean, why would I be happy? I didn't really lose them. I hid them on purpose. Pudding, Auntie, it's late. Go to bed. Qin Ning, from the previous conversation, it could be seen that the twins didn't like childish games. Therefore she was sure that they weren't hiding. Don't worry, Mississippi. Let's go to the surveillance room. Yes, the surveillance room. After speaking, Qin Ning immediately led the bodyguards to the surveillance room. Then she hurriedly pulled up the video recording. After watching it, Qin Ning's heart turned cold. Because the entire video showed that the twins didn't appear at all. Such a big villa, all the front and back were thousands of square meters. There was a garden and a swimming pool. However, they couldn't find a trace of the two children, and it had only been half an hour. Right, I'll call them. Qin Ning suddenly remembered that Pudding and Little Bean both had phones. When she called them, she realized that their phones were all turned off. Qin Ning was about to go crazy. God, her brother and sister-in-law trusted her with the child, but she lost it. When Qin Ning's father came out of the video conference, he realized that it was a mess outside. That is over. The kids are gone. Qin Ning cried. What child is missing? Pudding and Little Bean are gone. Weren't you at home just now? Yeah, but it happened in the blink of an eye and no one has ever seen them. How could that be? Do you think he can disappear into thin air? Search for him, search carefully, even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground to find him. Qin Chu's second uncle was also anxious. With all the security guards, bodyguards, butlers, nannies, from the front to the back, the basement, the wine cellar, the garden, even the swimming pool, there was still no news of the child. At this time, Qin Ning and her father were on the verge of collapse. They were 3-year-old children and there were 2 of them. If they really went missing, Qin Chu and Huamin would probably go crazy. I'll call my sister-in-law and ask if she went to find them. Although Qin Ning knew that it was unlikely, she still called Huamin with a glimmer of hope. Hello? Huamin's gentle voice came from the other end of the phone. Chapter 1946. Sis-in-law, what are you and my brother up to? Qin Ning asked guiltily. We're playing golf. Are you still with Rick? Yeah, we're still in New Orleans. Oh, when are you coming back? Tonight. We're flying back tonight. What's wrong? Sup, Ning Ning? No, nothing. I just wanted to ask. Did Pudding and Little Bean call you? It was 7 in the morning. Pudding sent me a picture and then nothing happened. What are the 2 of them doing? Yeah, they played chess with my daddy for the whole morning. Tell them to behave and not to bully your grandpa. Yeah, I will. Sis-in-law, you guys have fun. See you tonight. Okay. After hanging up, Huamin muttered to himself. Ning Ning sounded a bit weird. What's wrong, honey? Qin Chu asked. Nothing. Ning Ning just called to ask when we're coming back. Maybe my uncle asked her to. Oh, okay. We'll leave tonight. Qin Chu continued to play golf with Rick. He didn't know that it was because the twins were missing. The family was in a panic. Qin Chu's uncle even alerted the police in Los Angeles to help look for the twins. Qin Ning almost cried when she remembered that. She even added Suyu on WeChat. Pudding always video called Suyu, so Qin Ning remembered his WeChat ID. Afraid that Suyu would reject her, she even added a note. I'm the twins' aunt. Sure enough, Qin Chu accepted her request in less than 5 seconds. Hello, Mr. Su. Hello. I'm the twins' aunt. I know. You're Qin Ning. Pudding had been creating opportunities for Qin Ning and Suyu, so they were familiar with each other. Yes, I'm Qin Ning. So, you're looking for me? It was daytime in Los Angeles but midnight in China. Suyu was about to go to bed when he saw that someone had added him on WeChat. He was puzzled. Who would be so bored at night? Did Pudding and Little Bean send you a video? Recently? Suyu was surprised. Yes, the most recent one. I think it was last night. Before going to bed, they're used to sending me voice messages, telling me about the happy things that happened today and sharing them with me. Oh, what's wrong? Suyu asked cautiously. It's nothing. I was just asking. Pudding and Little Bean really like to joke around. If they tell you something, don't take it to heart, okay? I know. I've been dealing with them for 3 years. I'm used to it. Suyu chuckled. It's good. I'll leave you to it then. I still have things to do. After speaking, Qin Ning put down her phone. Then she felt as if her heart was on fire. Daddy, what should we do? Big brother and sister-in-law are coming back tonight. If the twins are lost, I don't want to live anymore. I even told Big Brother that it was fine. Tears flowed down Qin Ning's cheeks as she blamed herself. You're all useless. How can you not even look after the kids? Qin Chu's second uncle pointed at the bodyguards angrily. Luckily, they were all handpicked by Qin Chu. It was said that 2 of them were retired Navy SEALs. But with so many people, they couldn't even look after the 2 3-year-old babies. They didn't even know how they disappeared. Qin Chu's second uncle looked down at his watch. It had been 2 hours since the twins went missing. Everyone's hearts were in their mouths. They didn't even dare to think if they were kidnapped or if something bad happened to them. Daddy, what should we do now? Qin Ning asked while crying. Chapter 1947. We'll have to go out and look for them, but we can't make too much noise, Qin Ning's father said worriedly. Qin Ning knew that in a complicated place like the United States, if she announced that the twins were missing, people would know that the twins were exposed. Especially if people found out that they were the children of the chairman of the GK Corporation, people with ulterior motives would put the twins in danger. Therefore, they had to look for them quietly. The problem was they didn't know where the twins were. Without a single clue, how were they supposed to start looking? At this moment, in front of a luxury jewelry store in a busy area, 2 identical twins were pacing back and forth in front of the door. Sis, we're just buying a gift for handsome Sue. Why are you being so secretive? Why didn't you bring Auntie here? Little Bean complained. If we bring Auntie here, we won't be able to pick out the gift ourselves. But we didn't bring our phones. Won't Auntie be worried if she can't find us? We'll be back in a bit. What's there to be afraid of? Pudding replied calmly. But we don't have to avoid all the surveillance cameras in the house. Will Grandpa and Auntie think that we disappeared into thin air and traveled to another world? Will they be scared to death? Why do you have so many questions? If you're worried, you can go back first. If Auntie finds out where we are, do you think we'll be able to come out alone? But why do we have to come out alone? Little Bean was confused. Obviously, the 2 sisters didn't see eye to eye. Do you like to have so many bodyguards following you everywhere you go? Pudding asked aggressively. Little Bean immediately shook her head. No, I don't like it either. But I have no choice. Mommy said that Huasiqian is a big bad guy who wants to catch us. Handsome Sue also told us to be careful of that psycho. But we're not in China. We're in the United States. I don't believe that Huasiqian's people can do whatever they want here. You're right. Little Bean nodded in agreement. If Auntie finds out where we are, she'll definitely send people to follow us. To be honest, I want to experience what it's like to be homeless in a foreign country. Pudding said maturely. Are you looking for trouble? I don't feel safe at all. Let's hurry up and go home. I don't want anyone to kidnap us. After all, we're so pretty, Little Bean said confidently. Don't be so narcissistic, Miss Little Bean. In the big United States, people like us don't care about our looks. The beauties in Europe and America all have high noses, blonde hair and blue eyes. No one will care about us. Don't be so delusional. Before Little Bean could say anything, Pudding opened the door and walked into the mall. Little Bean immediately followed behind her sister. Perhaps because of her personality, Little Bean wasn't as bold as Pudding, nor was she as mature and experienced. She was still a little childish, so she relied on Pudding a little when she went out. Pudding was the one who made all the decisions. Of course, when it came to food, she wouldn't compromise. Hi, baby. The beautiful clerk had never seen such a small customer before, so she was very curious. Sis, I want to see a man's belt. Pudding looked up and said in fluent English. A belt. Are you buying it as a gift? Yes. Pudding nodded. But where are your parents? The clerk was confused. This was a luxury jewelry store. Chapter 1948. Every belt from this brand cost more than $1,000. She didn't think the twins could afford such an expensive belt. They didn't come. We went out alone, Pudding replied calmly. Ah. The salesgirl looked at them in disbelief. So, can I choose a gift for my friends? Pudding said proudly. But the belts here aren't cheap. The salesgirl tried to explain the price to the twins. I know. There are many Versace brands in China. I shop there often. After Pudding said this, the salesgirl was shocked again. However, Pudding was right. Suyu was a Versace fan, so most of his clothes, wallets, shoes, and daily necessities were from this brand. The twins and Suyu often went to stores like this, and Suyu often bought them things when he went shopping. He even bought some for Huamin, but Huamin had never worn them. We have to go home soon. Can we not waste time? Pudding looked at the shocked salesgirl and reminded her. Come with me. The salesgirl finally came back to her senses and carefully led the twins to the sofa in the middle. Then he thoughtfully poured them some warm water to drink. Do you have juice? Little Bean asked. Please. We're here to shop, not to eat. Pudding said helplessly. Sis, please bring me the newest and most expensive ones. I only want men's belts. Thank you. Pudding sat on the sofa with her legs crossed. The twins were wearing dresses with suspenders, white lantern sleeves, and dark blue miniskirts. They were very cute and looked like socialites. One look and you could tell they weren't ordinary kids. Even their black leather shoes were handmade by a famous brand. They were extremely low-key and luxurious. Soon, the salesgirl brought over many belts according to Pudding's request. Baby, which one do you like? Put them down first. I'll take a look. Pudding looked at each design and color carefully. I don't think handsome Sue needs a belt. He has mountains of luxury goods at home. What's the point of giving him a belt? Even if there's a mountain of them in his house, none of them are from us, Pudding retorted. That's true. If you don't want to buy it, then shut up. You're so annoying. Pudding continued to look at the belt. Little Bean drank her water and stopped looking at Pudding and the belt. He looked around. A black belt with a classic Versace pattern attracted Pudding's attention. What was different from the previous designs was that the woman in the design, which was the head of Medusa, had diamonds embedded in her eyes. It was shiny and beautiful. Sis, how much is this one? Pudding pointed at it and asked. This is a limited edition. There aren't many of them, so the price will be higher. The beautiful shop assistant explained patiently. So, how much is that? Pudding asked. More than $5,000. Well, it's really expensive. 30,000 yuan. Little Bean put down her glass and exclaimed. Sure, I'll take this then. Please wrap it up for me, Pudding ordered. What the? Big sis. Are you crazy? Do you have that much money? Little Bean lowered her voice and asked worriedly. Chapter 1949. Don't you have more? The red packets Auntie gave us and the ones we won from Grandpa are enough. Why do you count me in? I didn't say I was going to give handsome Sue a belt. Little Bean glared at her, unwilling to take out the money. Then what are you going to give him? Don't tell me you're not going to give handsome Sue anything. You know how much he loves us. Are you going to be an ingrate? Of course not. You don't have to tell me how good handsome Sue is to us, Little Bean refuted. So, what are you going to give him? Pudding continued to interrogate her. I haven't decided yet. Little Bean wasn't good at thinking. She was the lazy one. Then cut the crap. Give me the money. I'll pay you back when I get back. I can sell my stocks. Pudding forced her to. In the end, Little Bean pouted. Although she was unwilling, she still took out the money. I don't want you to pay me back. You have to tell handsome Sue that we bought the belt. Humph. Okay, Pudding agreed without hesitation. Finally, under the astonished gaze of the beautiful shop assistant, the twins paid a huge sum of more than $5,000. They bought the exquisite belt with a bonus of more than 30,000 yuan. In fact, when they came, Pudding wanted to buy Suyu a gift when they went back. After all, they came so far away. She wanted to give handsome Sue something to make him feel touched. Also, when they came, Mommy told her that the whole trip would only last for half a month. Pudding calculated the days and knew they would be back in a few days. That was why she wanted to sneak out to buy a gift. Keep the gift a secret. Don't tell handsome Sue when you video call him. Do you hear me? Pudding reminded her. I know. When the twins came out, they took a taxi and said they wanted to go to the busiest shopping street. Of course, they took a taxi back. Since they were fluent in English, it wasn't difficult for them to communicate. Plus, Grandpa Sue didn't live in a remote area. There weren't many people on the way, so they didn't have to worry about safety. 4.5 hours after the twins went missing, the family was in a panic. The Los Angeles police began to search for the twins. By this time, the twins had returned home. "Miss Sir, the twins are back." The security guard at the door called them. "What? Where is she?" Chin Chu's second uncle was so excited that he almost had a heart attack. "It's at the door." His went in. "It'll be here soon." Less than a minute after hanging up the phone, the security guard at the door sent the two little guys back. When Chin Ning saw them, she immediately rushed over and hugged them tightly. Then she burst into tears. "Auntie, what are you doing?" Little Bean and Pudding didn't expect their family to react so strongly. "Where did you two go? Do you know how worried we were?" Chin Chu's second uncle finally heaved a sigh of relief. If she didn't come back soon, he would really go crazy. Most importantly, Chin Chu and Huamin would arrive in Los Angeles at 8 p.m. If the child went missing, how was he going to explain it to them? Wasn't he a sinner? "We just went shopping, that's all," Little Bean said weakly. "Then why didn't you tell me? I could have taken you there." Chin Ning was anxious and angry. "We wanted to go out on our own. We don't like the feeling of being followed everywhere. That's how it is in China. Mommy said there are bad people, so we understand. But it's so far away in the States. I thought it was a rare opportunity," Pudding explained. "Then why didn't you bring your phone?" "It's out of battery. I've been charging it." "Chin Zhao Zhao, Chin Moo Moo. You two are too much. When your parents come tonight, I'm going to tell them about this." Chin Ning was so angry that she couldn't stop crying. Luckily the twins were back. Otherwise she would have wanted to die. Hearing that she was going to tell their parents, the twins' faces changed drastically. Chapter 1950. "Andy, we were just kidding. Don't take it so seriously." Little Bean immediately gave in. "Who's kidding? He scared me to death. I'm going to tell my brother and sister-in-law." "Who? Just wait for your deaths." "Humph." With that, Chin Ning stood up and turned to leave. "What should we do? He seems really angry." Little Bean was worried. "He's really mad." Pudding nodded. "So, did we go too far this time?" Little Bean asked guiltily. Pudding was silent. "Pudding, Little Bean, you two are too much. He scared me to death. I almost had a heart attack. Do you know how worried we were? Why didn't you tell us when you went out? How did you get out without us seeing you?" Chin Chu's uncle was still in shock. "Grandpa, I'm sorry. When we went out, we deliberately avoided the surveillance cameras and went into a blind spot. We timed it so that no one saw us. We just wanted to get rid of the bodyguards and Auntie." Pudding lowered her head and apologized to Chin Chu. "But you know what? Something happened to you too. How could your Auntie and I live? How could we face your parents and grandparents? We didn't think too much. We just went out to buy something and came back. We didn't expect it to take so long," Pudding told the truth. "By goodness. Thank goodness you came back. Otherwise, I'd have to ask the entire Los Angeles police force to help us find you." Chin Chu's uncle heaved a sigh of relief. "Grandpa, I'm a little hungry." Little Bean walked over and stood beside her father, acting cute. "Oh, my little baby. You know you're hungry." Grandpa Chin pinched Little Bean's cheek and immediately turned to the housekeeper. "Go and prepare something for the two babies." "Yes, sir." "Wait a minute. Tell the kitchen that I want to eat Chinese food today. Squirrel mandarin fish, spicy pork trotters, fried prawns with scallions and fried mushrooms." "All right. I want borscht too." "You can eat that much." Grandpa Chin was shocked. "Of course. Grandpa, let me tell you, I can eat when I'm at home. Every time the housekeeper in the kitchen sees me." Little Bean stayed downstairs and changed the topic to appease second grandpa. She tried to persuade him not to make this a big deal. They didn't want their parents to know about this. It was fine if their father knew because he doted on them and couldn't bear to tell them. If Mommy found out, he would be dead meat. They had all personally experienced how scary their mommy was when she was angry. Therefore Little Bean gave Pudding a look. Pudding immediately turned around and went upstairs to coax Chin Ning, who had the most difficulty. Second grandpa was an elder, so he should be easy to deal with. As long as she coaxed him and acted coquettishly, his heart would soften. Of course she would keep her mouth shut, But Aunt Ning was a hot little pepper. Moreover, she must be very angry with them for being so aggrieved and frightened. When Pudding went upstairs, Ning had just washed her face in the bathroom. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She was such a strong person and rarely cried. Since she was young, she had always been strong and wanted to do the best in everything she did. That was why she became a member of GK's board of directors at such a young age and participated in many major investment decisions. But today he was forced to cry by 2 3-year-old girls. And he cried very miserably. "Hello, Auntie." Pudding poked her head into the room and called out tentatively. "Get out. I don't want to talk to you." "Umph." Ning turned her head away. He was so angry. She had been worried about them for more than 4 hours. Every day felt like a year. But they went shopping. What could be more infuriating than this? Chapter 1951. "Auntie, I know you're angry," Pudding said guiltily. Ning kept a straight face and didn't say anything. "But we did this for a reason. Can you at least give us a chance to explain?" "No, there's no chance to explain. If you want to explain, you'll have to explain to your parents tonight." Ning covered her ears. She knew her highly intelligent niece was trying to trick her again. So she had to try her best not to be tricked by Pudding. Otherwise she would have been scared for nothing. "Auntie, to be honest, I always thought you were the smartest person in our family." "Don't flatter me. Besides, don't try to trick me. The whole world knows your mommy is the smartest person in our family." Haha. Pudding couldn't help but laugh at Ning's cute appearance. "Kid, why are you laughing?" "Auntie, I have to say it even if you don't want to listen. Let me show you something first." Then Pudding took out the belt she bought for Suyu and showed it to Ning. "Belt? It's for men. You're giving this to your daddy? Wait, your daddy's birthday is over?" Ning murmured to herself. "It's for handsome Su." "For Suyu?" Chu was slightly surprised. "Yeah. Although we usually make small gifts for handsome Su, nothing expensive. After all, we're still young and don't have the ability to make money. Before we came to the States, I thought that since it was rare for us to come so far, we had to buy something for handsome Su. Coincidentally, you gave us some pocket money and we won a lot of money playing chess with second grandpa this morning. Together with Little Bean's money, we had enough to buy this. So, you didn't spend the money because you wanted to buy a gift for Suyu." Ning was a little shocked. She knew the twins were good at spending money, so she gave them red packets. But after these days she didn't hear anything from them. She thought they didn't need anything, but now it seemed that they were saving money to buy a gift for Suyu. "Pudding, you two are so good to Suyu." Ning turned around and patted Pudding's head. "Auntie, although we're young, we know how to be grateful. There are only 2 kinds of people in this world that deserve your kindness. One is that they treat you well and the other is that they know how good you are. Handsome Su is both of them. Ever since we were born, he's been doting on us and we've replaced the years when Daddy wasn't with us. I'm so grateful for everything handsome Su has done for us. Even if he likes us because he likes Mommy, at least he treats us well from the bottom of his heart." Pudding's words touched Ning's heart. Such sentimental words coming from the mouth of a little girl like Pudding really had a different flavor. Before Ning could respond, Pudding continued, "Versace isn't a new brand. It's just one of the luxurious accessories, but it's handsome Su's favorite brand. He has a lot of things from this brand, so I wanted to buy him something from this brand. As for why it's a belt, guess Auntie. Because the belt gives off an aura." Ning guessed. Pudding shook her head with a smile. "Because the belt is the cheapest? You don't have enough money?" Ning's imagination ran wild. Pudding continued to shake her head. Okay, just tell me the answer. Geez, I really want to know." Ning finally decided to give up. She really couldn't guess. Chapter 1952. "No wonder you don't have a boyfriend at your age. You don't even know this common sense." Ning, "Let me tell you, the belt is meant to tie the man down for the rest of his life." Tie him down for the rest of his life?" Ning was dumbfounded. "What's with that expression?" Pudding was speechless. "My dear niece, is it really okay for you to give Suyu a belt? It's a gift from your boyfriend. He's an elder, isn't it awkward for you to tie him down for the rest of his life? The whole world knows I like handsome Su. But I'm too young. When I grow up, handsome Su will be old. When he was born, I wasn't born. When I was born, he was already old." Pudding even pulled out 2 lines from an ancient poem. Qi Ning was ashamed of herself. Her niece was only 3 years old but was already a master at flirting. Yeah, age is a big problem, so you should give up on this idea. No, handsome Sue is a good man, I can't give him up. Although I'm young and not the right age, there's someone in my family who's suitable for him. If I bring him to my family, I'll tie him down for the rest of his life. Are you talking about me? Qi Ning had a bad feeling about this. You're finally enlightened. Qin Zhao Zhao, don't be so stubborn, okay? I told you, Sue, you and I aren't suitable for each other. What are you talking about? Don't be so stubborn. Besides, Suyu isn't my cup of tea. You don't even know him, so you're saying he's not your cup of tea. You're insincere. Pudding pouted. Qi Ning, Pudding, you can't joke about this. Even you Lao can't just randomly pull strings, right? Pudding ignored Qi Ning and video called her. Hi, handsome Sue. Hi, Pudding. Good girl, I sent you Little Bean's phone number and you knew it was me? Pudding smiled sweetly. Of course. Your Uncle Sue isn't that stupid. What are you doing? I just went out to talk to someone and went back to the company. What about you? I went out with my sister. Still in L.A.? Suyu asked with a smile. Pudding nodded. It's LA fun. It's fun, and Auntie and second grandpa treat us very well. As long as you're happy. Did you miss me? Pudding whined. Of course I do. I think about it every day and look forward to it every day. When will you be back? Soon. Daddy and Mommy are coming to Los Angeles to pick us up tonight. The day after tomorrow we'll go back to Grandpa's house for one more night before leaving. When you guys come back, I'll treat you guys to a big meal. Suyu smiled at Pudding. But I still have a small wish. Can you promise me? Sure. Suyu would grant any request. He didn't even ask for anything. The extent to which he doted on the twins was second only to their biological father, Qin Chu. I want little aunt to come back to China with us for a while, but she won't. Help me persuade her. Pudding pointed the camera at Qi Ning. Qi Ning felt extremely awkward. Her eyes were red from crying and she washed her face. She really didn't have any makeup on. She wasn't pretty at all, okay? So he was also caught off guard. Hi. He could only awkwardly greet Qi Ning. Qi Ning smiled awkwardly. Hi. If you're not busy, you can come back with them. I can see that they really like you. Hearing Pudding's words, Suyu really did try to persuade Qi Ning. Qi Ning felt even more awkward. Chapter 1953. I have something to do, so I don't have time to go back. Qi Ning replied softly. Auntie, are you really going to embarrass handsome Sue? Pudding began to argue with Qi Ning. No, it has nothing to do with pride. Little brat. Don't cause trouble, okay? Did you mean what you said to me before? What? Qi Ning was surprised. About how handsome Sue is. Pudding said innocently. Ahem. Pudding, can you not say that? Qi Ning coughed violently and didn't even dare to look at Suyu. Don't be shy, Auntie. You're both adults, I understand. What do you understand? Qin Zhao Zhao, if you keep acting like this, I'll really have to talk to your mommy. Hearing Qi Ning's words, Pudding immediately became obedient. Handsome Sue, that's all. See you later. Okay, remember to come back soon. Your grandpa misses you. Suyu's eyes were filled with gentleness. After hanging up the video call, Qi Ning immediately picked up Pudding and pressed her down on the bed. Pudding, why did you set me up again? It's so embarrassing. Do you know how embarrassed I was just now? My eyes were red without makeup. So you must have been scared to death. No, you're beautiful. And you have to be confident. Come on, don't try to get away with it. When your mommy comes back, you can tell her. Hearing Qi Ning bring up this topic again, Pudding immediately gave in. He immediately admitted defeat. Little Auntie, we were indeed in the wrong this time. So we sincerely apologize to you. Pudding looked pitiful. You think you can just apologize? You two almost scared me and your grandpa to death. But we didn't go out to play. We did it for handsome Sue's present. Auntie, can you not tell Mommy? We won't do it again. No, I have to teach you a lesson. Qi Ning was determined. Mommy knows we'll be miserable. Last time when I made a mistake, she locked me up. It was dark and damp in my little warehouse. I was scared. Can you please? Don't make a fuss, okay? Pudding held Qin Ning's hand with tears in her eyes, swaying left and right. Sure enough, Qin Ning was shaken. Auntie, I know you're really worried about us. That's why you're angry and worried. We promise that we won't let you worry about us in the future, okay? But the situation this time is extremely bad. That's why we apologize. Auntie, didn't you make any mistakes when you were young? We are still children, isn't it normal to be naughty? Auntie, you can't expect too much from us. Besides, every time Mommy scolds us, she doesn't feel good either. This time we came on vacation to have fun. If the whole family is unhappy because of this, then the gains do not make up for the losses. We won't come again in the future. Pudding pouted. All right, you little vixen, you've successfully brainwashed me. I won't say anything, but I don't know if your second grandpa will tell anyone. Don't worry, Little Bean will handle second grandpa. Pudding smiled. Qin Ning, little brat, you're amazing. You're so scheming at such a young age. Let's see who dares to marry you when you grow up. You should worry about yourself, Auntie. After all, you're already so big. Then Pudding skipped down the stairs. Qin Ning was left behind with an unconvinced look on her face. That night, Qin Chu and Huamin flew to Los Angeles. Hello, second uncle. Huamin smiled and greeted Qin Chu's second uncle as soon as he walked in. I haven't seen you for a few years and you're still the same, you haven't changed at all. Qin Chu's second uncle exclaimed. Second uncle, where are my daughters? Qin Chu was worried about his daughters. He looked around but didn't see the twins. Chapter 1954. She's upstairs watching cartoons with Qin Ning. Qin Chu's uncle heaved a sigh of relief. He was glad that the twins were fine. Otherwise, how would he explain this to his nephew and niece-in-law? Talk to my uncle first. There are many things you don't know about the company that you can ask. I've been at the headquarters for a long time. I know a lot more than our dad. Okay, I won't stand on ceremony. Huamin replied with a smile. Towards Qin Chu's uncle, Huamin respected him as much as his parents-in-law. The Qin family was indeed suitable for business. In their generation, the two old men were very active in the business world. In this generation, Qin Ning and Qin Chu were also leaders in the financial world and were doing very well. Huamin had always thought that he wasn't suitable for business because he didn't like to socialize. Being a doctor was better. He just needed to focus on treating people. But now, Mian, you've been managing the company well these past few years. You have a good business mind. Uncle, you overestimate me. I don't know much. It's just that my dad and my husband have everything planned out so I can just follow their instructions. Also, my assistants are very good. I really didn't do it alone. Don't be modest with me. Chu told me that you're talented and smart. No matter what you learn faster than ordinary people. I'm really happy that the Qin family has such an outstanding niece-in-law like you. I'm going to retire soon. You and Chu have to take care of Ning Ning in the future. Uncle, Ning Ning is very good. She's very good. She's been listening to board meetings since she was 13. She knows more than me. I should be the one learning from her. Huamin was very humble. No matter how good Ning Ning is, she's still young. Compared to you guys, she's impatient and doesn't have the calmness and composure. She has to learn from you. There's no rush. Take it slow. Huamin smiled. If you have any objections about the company, you can ask me. Qin Chu's uncle was a workaholic. He would talk about work whenever he didn't like it. Huamin had a lot of things that he didn't understand, so he didn't beat around the bush and directly talked about business with his uncle. At this very moment in the small cinema upstairs, Qin Ning was watching an English cartoon with the twins. When Qin Chu went up, they were watching with great interest. Wow. Sis, look at that. It's so pretty. Little Bean danced around. Pudding's face remained calm. Babies, do you like it? Qin Chu walked over and asked with a smile. Wow, Daddy, you're back? Little Bean's reaction was big. She rushed over and hugged Qin Chu. Qin Chu squatted down and Little Bean hugged his neck tightly. Daddy, I missed you so much. Little Bean kissed Qin Chu's handsome left cheek. Qin Ning and Pudding were dumbfounded. He really is a bootlicker. Qin Ning sighed. I didn't wrong her, did I? Look, she's always so hypocritical. Pudding looked at Little Bean proudly. What hypocrisy. Sis, you shouldn't have said that. I really love Daddy. Little Bean refused to admit defeat. Qin Chu smiled and let go of Little Bean. He waved at Pudding and said, Pudding, come here and let Daddy hug you. To his surprise, Pudding crossed her arms and looked down at her father who was squatting down. She said word by word, "Let's not, Daddy. I'm not a child. Don't hug me all the time. Isn't that good?" Qin Ning, ha, big brother, you're so pitiful. You're despised by your own daughter. Chapter 1955. Little Bean said, "Daddy, don't listen to her nonsense. She's just pretending to be cold. Let's ignore her. Sco. I just found a really good tiramisu. I'll take you to try it." Just like that, Qin Chu followed Little Bean downstairs to the pantry to eat cake. Little Bean finally found a good excuse for her gluttony. In the small theater upstairs, only Qin Ning and Pudding were left sitting side by side. "Pudding, you're not likable. If you don't cry, you won't get any candy. Actually, you should learn from Little Bean. It's good that you can act like a spoiled child." "Actually," Qin Ning said slowly, "Auntie, we're all born as individuals. We don't depend on each other and naturally we don't imitate each other. Little Bean is kind by nature and likes to be in a daze and act cute. This is her personality advantage. I can't learn it and I don't want to learn it. I'm naturally calm and collected. I think this is good. But aren't you afraid that your mommy and daddy will love Little Bean more? After all, she knows how to coax people." Qin Ning deliberately teased her. "No," Pudding answered very decisively. "Why?" "It's because we're both daddy and mommy's daughters. They love us equally. Mommy carried us for 10 months and gave birth to us. We're also related to daddy by blood. This is a bond that can never be severed. Even if I'm calm, cold, and arrogant, daddy and mommy still love me equally. I believe that's the case." When Pudding said this, she was full of confidence. She was no longer a little girl. She had transformed into a domineering big sister in minutes. Qin Ning admired her little niece to death. "Pudding, you're really not like a 3-year-old child. I even thought that you were reborn or had traveled back in time from ancient times. You're like a demon." Although Qin Ning knew that Pudding was smart and mature, she felt that even an ordinary adult wouldn't be able to understand what she said, let alone a 3-year-old child. Hearing Qin Ning's words, Pudding turned her head and glanced at her auntie's face. "Auntie, have you watched too many novels and dramas?" "Qin Ning, that's not good. It will lower your IQ. Be good." Then Pudding patted Qin Ning's shoulder and said in a serious tone before she turned and went downstairs. Qin Ning was left dumbfounded. That night, Qin Chu's second uncle ordered the kitchen to prepare a very sumptuous Chinese meal. The whole family gathered together to eat dinner. "When are you going back?" Qin Ning's father asked, looking at Qin Chu and Huamin. "I'll go back to my parents' place tomorrow morning and stay there for 1 more day. After that, I'll go back to China." "So soon, big brother? Stay a little longer," Qin Ning said reluctantly. "Yes, it's rare for your whole family to come back. My brother and sister-in-law love children so much. They must be reluctant to part with you." Second uncle. "Mion and I still have a lot of things to take care of, so we can't stay here for too long. There will be plenty of opportunities. We'll come here twice a year, don't worry." "Actually, I think you should consider leaving the children here to go to school," Qin Chu's second uncle suggested. Qin Chu was slightly surprised. "Yes, the education here is the best in the world. The twins can go to kindergarten and elementary school here and then go to a prestigious university such as Oxford or Stanford. Wouldn't that be great? Otherwise, they'll have to go abroad in the future." "Second uncle, but they're still too young. They're only 3 years old." Qin Chu looked down at his daughters who were eating. Chapter 1956. "Yeah, they're too young. We can't bear to let them go." Humin smiled. "Dad, you're too much. They're only 3 years old and you want my brother and sister-in-law to keep them. Who would be willing to do that?" Qin Ning thought her father's suggestion was ridiculous. "So what? They're very independent. You don't have to worry about them at all. They can even go out on their own." Qin Chu's uncle accidentally let it slip. Humin immediately understood what was going on. He frowned slightly. "Go out on their own?" The twins' expressions changed and they immediately turned to Qin Ning for help. Qin Ning didn't want her nieces to leave, so she quickly tried to smooth things over. "Oh, it's like this. This morning they wanted to go out and play. I had something to talk to them about, so I only asked the bodyguards to follow them. I only went to pick them up after I finished talking." "You only asked the bodyguards to look after my daughters?" Ning, what were you thinking? Chu was unhappy. Chu's uncle immediately realized his slip of the tongue and didn't dare to say anything else. But I had no choice. It was a work emergency, so it's fine with the bodyguards following them. Honey, don't be too nervous. Min smiled and comforted Chu. Little girl, you liar. I'll teach you a lesson later. Chu pointed at Ning with his chopsticks. Ning stuck out her tongue and didn't say anything else. The twins secretly gave Ning a thumbs up, meaning, Auntie, you did a great job. After dinner, Chu and Mian sat in the living room with Chu to watch financial advice and discuss the global economy. Ning took the twins upstairs to take a shower. As soon as they entered the bathroom, Ning squatted down to fill the tub with water for the twins. The two little guys stumbled over and stood on either side of Ning. Then each of them kissed Ning's face. What are you doing? Kissing up to me? Ning smiled at the twins. Little Bean, Auntie, you're so nice. Thank goodness you helped us out. Pudding, I'm sorry that you got scolded by Daddy. Oh, it's okay. I love you guys so much that it's okay to be scolded. It's not like it's the first time I've been scolded by your daddy. What's one more time? Ning pinched their cheeks. Anyways, if we let it slip, I'm sure we'll be in big trouble. I noticed that Mommy's face changed when she heard that we went out alone. I was so scared. Little Bean was still in shock as she recalled the scene from before. Haha, so you know fear too. Ning laughed heartily. Of course. My mommy is actually very scary. When she's angry, my daddy is scared out of his wits, Pudding added. That's true. It's scary when someone who doesn't seem to have a temper normally gets angry. Sister-in-law always looks like she's smiling and calm, but when she gets angry, it's scary when the sky falls and the earth shatters. That's right. Pudding gave her a thumbs up and praised her auntie's wit again. Alright, cut the crap. Hurry up and come in to take a shower. After the bath water was ready, Ning helped them take off their clothes and carefully carried them into the bathroom. Thank you for taking care of us these past few days, Auntie. When I go back, I'll definitely buy some local specialties and send them to you. Little Bean would definitely use food to express her gratitude. Hey, I'll wait for your specialties. Just don't get me a basket of potatoes. Ning laughed. I won't. After all, international delivery is so expensive. Little Bean pouted. Auntie, I still hope that you can find a chance to come back to China and stay for a while. Pudding was still thinking about her auntie and Suyu and kept asking her to come back. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. Hurry up and take a shower. Oh, you guys are leaving tomorrow and my vacation is over. I'm so sad. I don't want to go to work anymore, Ning complained. Downstairs, Min was chatting when he suddenly changed the topic and asked, Uncle, why did the kids go out alone this morning? Ning's uncle's expression changed slightly when he heard this. He looked very unnatural. Chapter 1957. Oh, nothing. Chu tried to cover it up. Uncle, you can't hide it from us. Just tell us the truth so we don't think too much. Chu looked at Chu and said slowly. It turned out that Mian became suspicious when her second uncle let it slip at the dinner table. Although Ning tried to smooth things over, Min obviously didn't believe her. After spending a few days with Ning, Min had a general understanding of her. She was willing to take time off to eat and play with the twins every day. How could she let the kids go out with her bodyguards because of work? There was definitely something fishy going on. Chu and Min weren't ordinary people. They were very observant. Seeing that they had all spoken openly, second uncle could only tell the truth. After he told them the whole story, Chu and Mian's expressions turned serious. I didn't think they'd do something like this, Chu said in a low voice. Min bit his lip and didn't say anything. Honey, are you okay? Chu could tell that Mian wasn't in a good mood, so he put his arm around her shoulders. I'm fine. It's getting late. Let's go back to our room. Then Min and Chu got up. Min didn't go back to their room. Instead, he went straight to the bathroom. The two babies were taking a bubble bath inside. Mommy, you're so rude. Why didn't you knock? Little Bean pouted. Are they done? Min asked patiently. Almost. What's wrong? Ning turned around. Nothing. Your brother and I miss the kids. After they're done, let them go to our room. Okay, no problem. I'll take them there in a bit. Ning smiled. Min glanced at his daughters, closed the bathroom door and left. Sis, why aren't you saying anything? What are you daydreaming about? Little Bean patted Pudding's shoulder with her chubby little hand. Why do I feel like there's something wrong with Mommy? Pudding was worried. Gosh, you sure like to overthink things. No wonder Mommy always says you worry too much. Can you be more confident? You're not like our Scorpio at all. You're not cool at all. Little Bean complained. Yeah, you're both Scorpio. No wonder you're so black-bellied. Ning suddenly thought of their constellations. By the way, Auntie, what's your horoscope? Little Bean asked. I'm an Aries girl, Ning replied. Ha! You're a big white sheep. No wonder. Little Bean burst into laughter. No wonder what? Ning was confused. She didn't know what was so funny about her niece. Sis, can you tell her what's special about Aries? Little Bean poked Pudding. Pudding finally came back to her senses. She glanced at her auntie and said, I heard that Aries girls have bad tempers and are easily impulsive. You're right. I have a bad temper. I even argued with your second grandpa during the board meeting because of work. I have to tell the difference between right and wrong. Even my own father can't help me. Ning nodded. Aries people are actually very kind. Being impatient is just a characteristic of their personality. They explode when lit, Pudding explained. Wine? Explode when lit? Ning was speechless. At this moment Little Bean couldn't help but interrupt. Sis, you didn't get to the point. You didn't even say what Aries people like. Pudding, I think it's better not to. She won't be able to take it. Then, what's Aries people like? Hearing Pudding's words, Ning looked at Little Bean curiously. Chapter 1958. Ha ha ha, during the day and we'll do it at night. Ning, Mumu, what nonsense are you talking about? Ning was so angry that her face turned red. To be honest, little auntie, don't you know that Aries is very in love with, inside? What? Ning was about to break down. Forget it, you don't even have a boyfriend, so you probably won't understand even if I tell you. Little Bean lowered her head and continued to rub her chubby cheeks. Ning, okay Little Bean, don't bully auntie, she's still young. Pudding turned her head and said. Hey, let's go wash up. We have to greet the Emperor and Empress later. I wonder if they're having fun in New Orleans, Little Bean and Pudding said calmly. Ning felt like she was going crazy because of her nieces. Just one constellation could cause such a big earthquake. Oh my god, if she continued to live with them she would become a puppy. She would be turned into a fujoshi. She would be as dirty as she wanted to be. Auntie, read more magazines when you're free. Otherwise, when you have a boyfriend he'll think you're boring. Good luck. Before she left, Little Bean reminded Ning with a heavy tone. Ning felt like she was struck by lightning. Crack. She wasn't prepared for it at all. Little Bean, I'm going to tell your mommy that you're so dirty. Ning roared behind her. Calm down, my mommy's used to it. You're the only one who's making a fuss. Little Bean whistled and followed closely behind her sister to her parents' room. Huh. Sis, what's on your mind? Pudding walked slowly with her head down. Little Bean was curious. I still feel like Mommy's not in the right mood. I feel like something's going to happen. She's very nervous, Pudding replied nervously. You're thinking too much. Move, I'll walk in front. If anything happens I'll cover you and you can run. With that, Little Bean quickly ran in front of her sister. The two of them walked to the door and politely knocked on it. Come in. Min's crisp voice came from inside. Mommy, we're here. Little Bean smiled coquettishly as soon as she walked in. Pudding followed her sister cautiously. Chu and Min were sitting on the sofa in the bedroom wearing bathrobes. It was obvious that they had also taken a shower. However, Pudding was even more worried when she saw her parents sitting in a row. You do come here. Min beckoned with his finger, his face expressionless. The twins didn't understand what he meant, so they slowly walked over. Pudding cleverly glanced at her daddy's face and found that his eyes were a little serious. Mommy, why are you looking for us? Pudding asked tentatively. Both of you stretch out your hands first. Min said faintly. Mommy, do you have a gift for us? Well, I knew you and Daddy wouldn't forget about us when you go to New Orleans. Did Uncle Rick buy them for us? Are they food or toys? Little Bean looked very excited. Pudding, on the other hand, was worried. However, the two children still obediently followed Huamin's instructions. Just as they stretched out their chubby little hands, Huamin pulled out a ruler from behind him. Pop, pop, pop. The ruler hit their palms twice. Instantly the twins were stunned. "Mommy, why did you hit us?" Little Bean was dumbfounded and felt wronged. Although Chin Chu felt bad, he decided not to interfere with his wife's education of the children. "Mommy, you need a reason to hit us." Pudding looked up and stared at Huamin calmly saying, "You want a reason, right? Very well, then let me ask you, whose idea was it to go out alone?" Huamin asked sternly. Chapter 1959. Hearing Huamin's words, the twins immediately calmed down. They knew that they had been exposed and that they had underestimated their mommy's intelligence. Huamin didn't fully believe Qin Ning's words. In the end, he learned the whole story from his uncle. The result was that Huamin was furious and the consequences were severe. "Don't look at each other. Look at me." Huamin saw the twins secretly looking at each other as if they were trying to communicate with each other. They were trying to figure out how to deal with their mommy. "So, who's going to answer my question? You went out alone without bodyguards and you didn't let Grandpa and Auntie know about it. You even avoided all the surveillance cameras. You caused a huge commotion at home and scared everyone out of their wits. So, who was the one who came up with this idea?" Huamian could no longer suppress the anger in her heart, and her voice was tinged with irritation. Yes, ever since she had the babies, she wasn't as calm as before. Because the baby would inadvertently do something that would drive you crazy. "Honey, calm down. Lower your voice, don't scare them." Chin Chu couldn't bear to see them like this. Looking at the two little girls with their heads lowered and their lips aggrievedly, Mr. Qin began to surrender. "Honey, we agreed that you wouldn't interfere." Huamin tilted his head and glanced at Chin Chu. "Yes, I won't interfere. I'm just giving you a friendly reminder." "I don't need your reminder. If you can't stand it, you can go out and I'll talk to them," Huamin suggested. "Daddy, please don't go." Little Bean was so scared that she immediately begged Chin Chu. She knew too well that with her daddy by her side, she would be emboldened and her sister's situation would be much better. If her daddy went out and they were left alone with their mommy, that would be really scary. "I won't go." Chin Chu looked at his daughters with heartache. Pudding was struggling internally. She knew that if she admitted it, she would face her mommy's wrath. This time it would be worse than the time when she smashed the phone, so the punishment would be crueler. No matter how calm and collected she was still a child, so she would still be afraid. "Why aren't you talking? Are you scared?" Huamin asked coldly. The twins still lowered their heads, not daring to make a sound. "You have 5 seconds to answer my question. Otherwise, I'll take it that it was your idea and both of you will be punished." Huamin said and started counting down. 4, 3, 2, "Mommy, it was my idea." Hearing this, Chin Chu froze for a second and so did Huamian. Because it was Little Bean who spoke. Pudding also looked at her sister in surprise. She didn't expect her sister to do this. "Little Bean, was this your idea?" Huamin repeated. Little Bean placed her hands behind her back nervously. She rubbed her hands vigorously. It was obvious that she was very nervous. But she still looked up and said confidently, "It was my idea, Mommy." "This isn't like you." Huamin looked at his daughter meaningfully. She knew their personalities too well. Little Bean didn't have any ideas. Most of the time she followed her sister's footsteps. She would agree to go wherever Pudding wanted to go. Other than being strict about what to eat, Little Bean didn't interfere too much. Obviously, Huamin didn't believe her. Pudding was a bit anxious and said, "Mommy, Little Bean is wrong. This matter is actually..." Chapter 1960. So stop talking. Let's just tell Mommy the truth. I know you want to take care of me because you're my sister, but I have to take responsibility for what I did. I'll just admit it to Mommy. Little Bean looked at Pudding and said slowly. "But..." Pudding seemed to have something else to say. "No buts. This is the truth." Little Bean was determined and took the blame. "Why did you do that? Don't you know it's dangerous to go out alone?" Huamin asked. "I thought we'd be fine in the States. After all, those bad guys are in China." Little Bean remembered what her sister said to her before. "Nonsense. Do bad guys know where to go? Do you think they won't come here? Do you know how second Grandpa and Auntie would face us if something happened to you? They must be under a lot of pressure. You disappeared for 4 hours and made second grandpa call the LAPD. You two are too much. The twins lowered their heads and didn't say anything. I've always thought that you two are friendly children. Even if you're occasionally willful, it's still a child's nature. I can understand and accept it. But this time I can't agree with and accept your actions. You two are selfish. You don't care about other people's feelings. You only think about your own happiness. It's only because your freedom is restricted in the country that you think it's fun and whimsical that you did such a ridiculous thing. Mommy, we're fine, aren't we? Pudding argued. Shut up. Don't tell me you're fine. You're just lucky. Something happened. What would happen to your daddy and me? What would happen to Grandpa and Grandma? What would happen to Uncle Sue? Huamin sounded agitated. Honey, don't be angry. Calm down. Chinchu patted Huamin's back. He was heartbroken to see her so angry. However, on one side was his daughters and on the other side was his wife. Mommy, we know we're wrong. We're sorry. Little Bean was obedient and apologized immediately. Even if she didn't mean it, she would try to comfort her mother first. She didn't want to get beaten up. However, Pudding didn't accept it. She thought it was a good idea to buy Suyu a gift when they finally went out. Moreover, nothing happened to them. They were fluent in English and the taxi ride was smooth. It was not as dangerous as Mommy had said. Of course, they were still young and didn't know that Huasichin had always wanted to harm them. They also didn't know that a terrifying demon like Ian was eyeing their entire family. She only felt that her mommy was too nervous. Is it useful to know that you're wrong? If you cause trouble in the future, such as killing someone, do you think you will be forgiven just by apologizing? Don't you need to take responsibility? Huamin reprimanded with a black face. Honey, it's not that serious. Don't scare them. Chinchu still couldn't bear it. It's that serious. If we don't teach them a lesson now, what will happen in the future? With that, Huamin raised the ferrule in his hand. Little Bean, Mommy will ask you one last time. This was your idea, wasn't it? It's me. Little Bean was determined to take the blame. Alright, then you have to accept the punishment. With that, Huamin grabbed Little Bean's hands. She started hitting them. From the sound of it, it was obvious that she used a lot of force. She hit each hand 5 times, a total of 10 times. The sound of the ferrule cracking made Chinchu's heart clench. However, he didn't dare to plead for his daughters. Chapter 1961. Chinchu knew that if one of them hit and the other spoiled the child, it would be ineffective. Therefore, Chinchu turned his head away and didn't dare to look. Instantly, Little Bean's hands turned red. Maybe it was because of the pain, but her face turned red. However, she didn't cry this time. She just gritted her teeth and endured it. After the slap, before Huamin could say anything, Pudding burst into tears. She was very sad because she knew that her sister took the blame for her and got hit. It must have hurt a lot. Sis, don't cry. It doesn't hurt. Really, it doesn't hurt. Mommy didn't hit me hard. Little Bean forced a smile and her eyes turned into crescents. At this moment, Chinchu's eyes were wet. Huamian almost burst into tears as well. In fact, Chinchu and Huamin both knew it was Pudding's idea. They just didn't expect Little Bean to admit it. Even though Huamian knew it wasn't Little Bean, she still hit Little Bean hard to make Pudding suffer. Sisters were connected by heart. Plus, they were twins. Pudding seemed to be able to feel Little Bean's pain. Mommy, it wasn't Little Bean's idea. Pudding cried and said. But Little Bean walked over and covered her mouth. Mommy, it's over. We know we were wrong. So, can we go now? You can go. Pudding stays. But I said it wasn't Little Bean. Mommy, why didn't you keep your promise? Little Bean was a little agitated. I didn't. Are you going to hit Little Bean? No, I won't hit her. You took all the hits for her. Huamin looked at Little Bean. Honey, take Little Bean out first. I have something to say to Pudding. Okay. Chinchu nodded and picked up Little Bean. Let's go. Daddy will put the ointment on you. Daddy, it doesn't hurt. Stay and help big sister. Little Bean was a little scared. Don't worry. If Mommy says I won't hit you, then I won't. Finally, Chinchu walked out of the door with Little Bean in his arms. Pudding was still crying with her head down. Her tears had already wet her floral dress. Her 2 neat braids were also a little loose and she looked very disheveled. Little Bean, does it hurt? As soon as Chinchu carried Little Bean out of the door, he kissed her face lovingly. Tell me the truth? Little Bean looked at her daddy pitifully. Of course. Little Bean whispered into Chinchu's ear. It hurts a lot. Mommy hit me really hard. Then why aren't you crying? Because I'm afraid that if I cry you'll feel bad. Little Bean said sensibly. Hearing this, Chinchu felt very uncomfortable. His daughter was only 3 years old. She only thought so much. Besides, Little Bean looked like a silly little girl who only knew how to flatter and act cute. No one would have thought that she would be so sensible and considerate of her sister. Little Bean, Daddy wants to ask you. This was your sister's idea. Why did you say it was you? Don't you know that you'll be beaten if you say it? Chinchu was also very curious. He wanted to know what Little Bean was thinking. I know. I'm mentally prepared. Little Bean nodded. Then why did you admit it for your sister? Mommy already punished her last time when she made a mistake. If I punish her again this time, I'm afraid she'll be sad, scared, and even traumatized. She'll think that Mommy doesn't love her. After Little Bean said this, Chinchu's tears fell down. He really couldn't control it. What about you? Won't you be scared, sad, or traumatized? Chinchu hugged his daughter tightly. I'm fine. My heart is bigger than my sister's. She's more introverted, so I'm a little worried. These are all superficial wounds. She'll be fine in a few days. Daddy, why are you crying? Don't cry. You won't be handsome if you cry. Little Bean wiped away Chinchu's tears as she spoke. It was very heartwarming. Inside the room, Huamin looked at Little Bean with a heavy heart and said in a serious tone, Little Bean, don't you want to say something to Mommy? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.